I really like that song. I think this song is it's certainly one of the most pleasant things in this game. And I might do a cover of it. At least of the very beginning of it. After that, it gets a bit more complicated, and that'd be harder. Yeah. So, last time we had some conversations that were a bit tricky. I appreciate those of you who respected my request not to make fun of me, for example, for coming to a conclusion that I don't know. So somebody left me a comment that I found very helpful that was saying that playing this game kind of lets you explore like failure in a way, and doing things you wouldn't normally do and things you wouldn't normally be comfortable with, and having consequences, in a safe environment, essentially, doing things that you would not do in real life but maybe are curious about, without the consequences that happen actually affecting your actual real everyday life. And so it's kind of a safe and interesting playground to explore dark questions and interesting things about human nature. However, because I'm streaming this game for an audience, the kind of like safety of that goes away. There kind of isn't one. As much as clearly I put pressure on myself to try to pick right answers because I don't like making mistakes. I also feel a lot of pressure to say things, or not to say things rather, that people will judge me for, and I've found, like, obviously not enough for me to like stop talking, because it takes a lot, I think, to make me stop talking, but I found myself kind of wincing preemptively, if I say something, or if I come to a conclusion in the game that then later turns out to be incorrect. When it's not like, oh, I'm gonna predict where the story goes next. Oh, oops, I predicted wrong, which is kind of like we're all on the same page there. And that's not a dangerous thing to do at all. Like when I do my mini golfing, there's kind of an inherent assumption that I'm very likely wrong, either in whole or in part, and that's part of the fun. So I can throw down completely random what the hell ideas and not feel any pressure about that. I do sometimes feel pressure with games because people want me to be thorough and see things and interact with things. I feel kind of pressure about like missing stuff, but I also want to find it on my own, rather than being kind of led by the hand to find all the things and have them pointed out to me. So it's kind of like there's a little bit of a tension and pressure there that I put on myself. Partly just because, again, of how I am, partly because I will sometimes get comments of people being like, oh no, you missed the thing. And I'm like, well, that's too bad because I didn't get that thing. But in the case of this game, yeah, this is a very soul-bearing game because you're asking yourself kind of really personal questions. Even if the exploration of politics, for example, and the philosophies thereof are actually intended to be about our main character's mindset and not necessarily the true way of looking at the world. You know, even if I'm not supposed to necessarily feel called out as Lauren for being a centrist because I chose the moralist path in this game, through the process of playing the game, it's almost a given that you're going to have to engage with your own thoughts and feelings on these subjects. I mean, if you were a player who was, if you were like 100% role playing a character, then maybe there would be a disconnect and you would think, what does my character think? What does my character feel? And maybe that wouldn't lead to you engaging with your own beliefs. Or maybe if you're just like pressing buttons to see what happens next. But I think for most of us, there's at least some degree of having to interrogate your own thoughts and feelings about things. And it's interesting to have to ask these questions. And one of the things that I think is really helpful is having an open mind that you can say or think or feel something and then kind of get shifted and poked and nudged to think about it differently, and maybe your opinions shift, or maybe another perspective helps you feel like, yes, actually no, having considered it from that angle, I stand by what I feel. And all of these things are very, like, in the context of playing the game by yourself, it's really safe to do that. You can say something dumb, misread something, hold a political opinion that others may disagree with, change your mind about things, all of these things like that. You can do them safely as a person playing the game on your own. But for me, because like I'm in some ways I'm a chronic oversharer when it comes to streaming. I talk a lot about what the games make me think of. And so like the Deltarune Chapter 2 stream, I think, is probably the best example of that. There's a lot of kind of like going off the rails, thinking about and talking about not just what's going on in the game, but things in the real world, things in my personal life, stuff like that. And I'm usually comfortable with it. But this game, obviously, like I've said, the actual subject matter of this game is really uncomfortable for me. And the situation and the circumstance and the main character are all very uncomfortable for me. But even for me, the way that this game kind of cuts you open, and the way that I actually engage with that, because I can't help myself, even if I wanted to be more closed off, I'm not sure I could manage it. It all just ends up leaving me feeling very vulnerable. And because people are very personally invested in their own experiences and their own thoughts and things, I think a lot of people want to have dialogue, which is understandable. You know, I'm doing this on camera for a reason. I do like to engage with people. But it's one thing if we're like talking about what's happening in a story or like sharing our personal experiences. But sometimes people will be critical of me and what I think and feel and what I get out of something and what I bring to it. I'm not a piece of Disco Elysium. I'm a human being with my own limitations and my own background, my own experiences, my own mindsets, my own tendencies. And I just ask everybody to please be respectful of that. I know that watching streamers play games is a fun hobby, but I ask you to always remember before you say something that I am a person, and I'm a particularly sensitive person, for better or for worse, for better and for worse. Let's be real. There are advantages and disadvantages to that sort of thing. But yeah, no, it is a very, very kind of scary thing to do. And part of why I get kind of worked up the way I do sometimes, and why I get terrified of picking an answer sometimes, is because I'm already anticipating that people are going to be disappointed or critical when I'm just trying to have an experience. So yes, flutes are people too. Hey Kashi, welcome. Making a fanfic for somebody for their birthday seems like an absolutely lovely gift. That is such a thoughtful thing. Making something for a person is really delightful. That's a very special gift. I've only been given handmade presents like that a few times from partners, but it's really nice. Very thoughtful of you. Anyway, I'm sorry for that kind of as like a long, weird tangent thing, but it's something that I've been thinking about, and I've talked about it before, and I'll probably continue to talk about it some, because I've never had an experience quite like this trying to stream a game, if that makes sense. So I hope you'll bear with me. I will say, I did talk to my doctor this week about the memory issues that I've been having, that we all know I've been having. And he thinks that there's still like the possibility that it's just continuing to be the iron deficiency. So we're going to see in a few weeks kind of how it plays out and what those numbers look like. And then we'll investigate the other causes if we need to. So if you happen to watch my older streams, report back if you notice that the memory is or is not an issue in any of them. If you happen to go back and rewatch any of them, I know obviously Disco Elysium I know has memory issues throughout, because Ocelot and I are in the same boat. But I'm trying to figure out exactly when that started and how bad it was. So not to send you off on homework, but just in case anyone is watching that. So we have a bird on Joyce's boat. So I was actually just kind of wandering around, and then I was like, oh, that's right. I could go talk to Joyce, because I have a few unpleasant things ahead of me in this game. Interacting with Measurehead's probably not going to be a lot of fun. And the whole situation of him getting the body down is also probably not going to be fun. So actually, you know what? Let's have an easier conversation. Let's go see if we can do something that will absolutely be not stressful in any way. Because like I said, for better or worse, I'm a sensitive person, and the conversation with Sylvie wound up being a difficult one for me. So I think I might do something a bit more lighthearted for just a couple minutes, and then we can dive on into the meat of the game again. Even I can only stretch things out so long. No, that's a lie. That's a lie. I have stretched out the last 20 minutes of a game to 4 hours before, sometimes, just because especially with the ending, you don't want to rush it, you know? I don't know. I want to go in and talk to this child and see how she's doing. As I was thinking about her, because I was thinking about the friendship hat and how I don't want to take my friendship hat off, you know? It's my favorite piece of gear. So let's go see, in case, because sometimes people have different things to say from the looks of it. I don't know that I'm going to buy a book, because I'm going to have to pay to stay the night again the next day, probably. And I don't have enough money for that, you know? So I might be cautious.
Hi, Ace Detective. Are you here for more books?
Oh, okay, Annette doesn't have anything new to say. But I'm very glad that she continues to be my friend. Let's see if her mom has anything to say that is new.
Hello again, esteemed officer, and welcome to Crime, Romance, and Biographies of Famous People.
I know that there are people who actually sound like this, where their voice is almost cracking, but it definitely feels like she's trying to sound more like someone or something in a certain way than she actually naturally does. They say, what if I want to buy a book?
Goodness, you were already doing good, browsing the shelves. Why'd you stop? Don't you feel compelled? Go, get back there. The books await you.
She fiddles her pendant, then waves her bony fingers directly at you. I guess I must not have had this conversation before. Unless I X'd out of it for some reason. Okay, so what type of books do you have? Because I did browse all the shelves and talk to her about them.
Everything is on the shelves. Take a look yourself. The shelves compel you, don't they?
She's attempting to mentally direct you towards the shelves. She only wants you to buy the goods. She doesn't care about the books.
So actually, though, I have to point out there was a small misread by the voice actor that actually changes the meaning of the sentence every so often. Like, it's just a small bit. So she only wants you to buy the goods. She doesn't care about the books is a different meaning than she only wants you to buy the goods. She doesn't care about books. It's one thing to be like, she doesn't care about what she's selling. It's another thing to say just books. She just does not care about books as a thing altogether. Small misread. I would have marked that if I were the proofreader, because that's how I roll. All right, I could give her a hard time about this. Maybe I will. Do you even know what type of books you have for sale? She does. I've asked her about it, but let's see what happens.
Truth be told, not really. My sister brings in most of the goods. I'm sure it's all very literary stuff with well-written prose.
She isn't even... She doesn't even think that's a bad thing, so she's not... I thought she might get a little bit defensive. But she's not. She's just like, well, no, they don't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean, granted, if I remember correctly, which may not be true because my memory is a known issue. I seem to recall that the bookstore was her husband's idea originally, because I know that she had a husband who was domineering and absent, largely absent. All right. Well-written prose. It's very literary, I'm sure. It's all very literary, especially the like dime novel science fiction trash.
But you don't learn about the important things in life from fabricated stories.
See, this is a fun little bit of irony because we're supposed to know that she's very superstitious and interested in pseudoscience, which is fabricated. All right. So I can say, wait, shouldn't a storekeeper know about her wares? Or, where do you learn about the important things then? Yes, the man from Heimdall is definitely the most literary book ever. Let's ask her, where do you learn about the important things then? Because I'm curious about this, and this will get her to open up instead of criticizing her, which might make her shut down because she has a problem with being like, she has been repeatedly criticized and to the point of I'm trying to think of the right way to phrase it, but my impression from my previous conversation with her about both her mother and her husband is that these are people who put her down constantly, challenge and belittle her, and so the last thing I want to do is to challenge and belittle her. So let's ask her. Let's invite her to open up instead of criticizing her.
The truth is available if you just know where to look, and you have to open and free your mind to understand.
She looks at you cryptically. Okay, I'll take another look then.
She smiles and nods, seemingly relieved.
Okay, well, that happened. I really want to see what's back here. I'm really concerned about...
The curtains, tattered with age and covered in dust, hang before you, as if taunting you.
I really want to open the curtains and see what's back there. She's gonna yell at me if I do this, but I really want to see it. Because there was the curse. There was a curse. I remember there being talk of a curse, and I'm curious. I'm going to pull open the curtains and she'll probably get mad at me.
Just as you're about to pull apart the curtains, the petrified voice of the shop owner cries out once more.
Sir, don't touch that. I told you it's off limits for the customers.
Her hand is closed around her pendant, her fingers nervously playing with the talisman.
Parapsychologically speaking, we're done if you decide to open them. I won't be held responsible for the consequences. It's too dangerous.
Okay, let's see if I actually have the chance to backtrack from here.
She looks away, mumbling. Why is everyone always messing with the curtains? Why can't they just buy books like normal people?
Amazing. I'm amused that my perception was... She must not be mumbling too quietly because even my terrible perception is able to pick up on that. So I can say, this is about the curse. That's why you're afraid. Or, ma'am, this is different. I'm a police officer. I need to get in there. Or, but I sense this place calling for me. I must investigate beyond the threshold. And then I can either say, I don't care, you can't stop me, I'll open them, or all right, I'll think about it for a while. So 3 is the one thing that might be more likely to actually get her to open up. It's the most clown shoes option here. 1 feels like that's belittling her. 2 actually, I mean, I don't have any points in authority, so I don't know how convincing that'll be. That's the least clown shoes option, because 1 might be perceived as putting her down. It could be a problem. 3, I'm really curious. I'm interested in it. If I were playing this on my own, I might go back. I might try a few more crazy things and then load my saves. You know, but that hasn't really been how I've been doing things so far. So yes, we could have a very a la carte. I'm interested in this. I have to analyze everything. 1 could be, that's true, but I just know that she's hypersensitive to criticism, and having had a lot of life experience with people who are hypersensitive to criticism, I am used to trying to think of how to very carefully phrase something in such a way that it can't be construed as criticism. Even if it is criticism, sometimes you have to find a way to phrase it such that they don't know they're being criticized. You can sometimes convince them that it's their idea. I would love to be able to know what... Well, so the thing that's frustrating about this... Okay. In some games, the ambiguity of what is actually going to come out of your character's mouth or what your character actually means is kind of part of the point. Like, I've actually thought about doing a video on... I thought about doing a video on the dialogues, the highly stylized dialogue in Night in the Woods versus Oxenfree. And one of the things that's interesting about both those games is because you're playing a character who trips over their own tongue, sometimes you pick an answer thinking you know what it's going to be, and then it's not that. But it fits the character. It's an intentional decision on the writer's behalf to make it so that you fuck up your conversation sometimes, no matter how hard you're trying, because that's the thing for your character to do. That's who you're playing. That's how it goes. And it gets you that feeling of frustration that happens especially when you're young and don't have as much life experience with things. The foot and mouth is real. So they kind of force the foot and mouth on you and give you that feeling of, but I didn't mean it that way. And it's uncomfortable, but it also, because it fits the character so well, it's usually pretty satisfying when that happens. And it's not a dice roll thing, but it's meant to be disconcerting. And there are other games that are like that with the characters. The characters, like, it's sometimes intentionally misleading, if that makes sense. There are also games where things are ambiguous. How's this in BioWare games? I'm sorry. I promise I don't want to just dunk on BioWare every day. But in BioWare games, sometimes they phrase things vaguely enough that the two different answers, the two different options that you pick, actually lead to the same line of spoken dialogue, because they don't want to have to write that much dialogue. No, Night in the Woods is not entirely like that. That is a thing that happens occasionally. And sometimes when your character is speaking, you have only terrible things to say. Because your character is that kind of a person. And the dialogue options that you have while playing her are what May would say in that situation. So let's not spoil Night in the Woods for other people who haven't played it. But it's very intentionally done. The dialogue and that is very intentionally done. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. Part of why I want to put together a video like that is because I think that Scott Benson would be really annoyed, affectionate I was like, I'm gonna go a literary analysis on your game, and he'd be like, God damn it. So I kind of want to do that because I think it'd be funny. But yeah, so Mass Effect has some ambiguous dialogue so that they can kind of do a little smoke and mirrors to make you think you have more choice than you have. But sometimes with games, I feel like there's a disconnect where it's not supposed to be a gotcha. It's not supposed to be disorienting, take the feeling of control away from you, etc., etc. It's just that they've written it and you think it's going to be this one thing and then it's not. And sometimes that is without a doubt, Lauren has overthought things in the wrong direction. Shocking. I know. No, when I played Dark Souls 1, there's like a super optional secret ending that you're only supposed to get if you have actually seen and done things. I don't know what those things are because I didn't see or do, I think, any of them, but I got to the ending and I thought my way through this like really convoluted thing and I was like, no, I know what's going on here. And then I went and stumbled into the optional ending and had no idea what was going on because it turns out that I had convinced myself of this thing. And that was entirely on me. Like, people are like, you are right, you smelled a rat, but what you did about it and what you read about it and all this stuff, like, you're off on Lauren land, you know? And so sometimes you can just say, it's just me. I goofed, I misunderstood, I overanalyzed things, I made an assumption, whatever. That totally happens. Probably happens to all of us. Definitely happens to me. But my thing that I kind of stumble over sometimes is when I'm not sure whether a game is doing it intentionally or not. Are they aware of how things could be misread? Or am I the problem because I can't actually intuitively understand what people mean? And so something in me that doesn't get people fundamentally, and that's why I have all of these analytical skills, is because I don't have an intrinsic understanding of people. Is it a problem with Lauren that I can't tell and most people would be able to tell? Like, when I read a line and I'm like, that makes me think it's meant this particular way, or it could be this way, or it could be that way. Like, does everybody else like know it's obviously like 90% chance it's going to be this one thing, and I'm sitting here like I can't tell? It's like 30% for each of these three options. It's a crapshoot. I don't know, and it's a weird feeling. That's where I was going with this whole convoluted thing. I of course had to talk excessively about other games and their philosophy of dialogue. And I know that understanding is always subjective. I just can't help but wonder, even with that, there's sometimes this feeling that like everybody else gets something out of it that's different than what I get out of it. So yeah, well, Chrono, if you ask me, I'll give you 3 answers. So I'm already throwing off the number. What is the? I'd be like opinion George should not be is an anomaly and should not be counted, but that'd be me. And it'd be like, has like 50 opinions in one person. Yes, that's me. I'm glad we're on the same page. Anyway, so yeah, I can overanalyze all of these things, and without knowing the tone that it's going to come out, I can't anticipate what her reaction is going to be. I don't like it. I like being in control of knowing what I'm trying to say. Regardless of how other people are going to respond to it, I can at least know what my intent was. And I don't know what Harry's intent here is. I don't know what he means by it. I don't know how he's going to say it. I don't know how she's going to take it. So I gotta figure it out for myself. You might be able to say all 3. That's possible. It does specifically say which ones will continue either way. And I will pick an answer, I promise. I will pick it. I will pick a response eventually and we'll find out. I just have to overanalyze everything and then tell you what I think about dialogue choices in video games. Because I was thinking, like, what could I possibly do a Night in the Woods video on that isn't just me making an angry rant about magic realism. So that's interesting. I think I might be more willing to relinquish the control on the dialogue and take chances and do things in a riskier way if I weren't streaming it, because then it doesn't make a difference. There's no consequence. It doesn't matter. I would still be to some degree uptight, and there would be a lot of options I wouldn't pick because I'm just plain not comfortable. But I think I would probably be a little bit looser with it. So I'm gonna pick the most boring thing here and see what happens, because I have decided I'm not going to take a risk here. Man, this is different. I'm a police officer. I need to get in there.
Why? It's not like anyone was killed there.
She stops abruptly as her hand flies over her mouth, baffled by her own bluntness. I have heard about some rulings about basically preventing union busting, that if they try too hard to union bust, then the union will automatically pass when they make it, or that the union that their attempts to unionize will automatically succeed if you try too hard to bust them. Is that the one that you're talking about? It's a nice thing. I'm on board with that.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to be so impolite. Just please don't go there. I can't allow that. You'll only make things worse and unleash the powers.
The powers. Okay. Alright, so it does look like I can ask all of these questions, so I think I will now. Oh man, Kuriokio. You've got there's a lot of Disco Elysium playthrough to get through. I'm sorry. I talk a lot. Alright. This is about the curse. That's why you're afraid? We might as well see what happens. I don't think any of these are, like, enough deal breakers that they're gonna, like, make her hate me forever, but we'll find out.
No, it's just a storeroom for the employees, I told you. Now please step away from the curtains.
Then why did she talk about the powers earlier? Ma'am, get your story straight. But I sense this place calling for me. I must investigate beyond the threshold.
You do? My God, even more reasons not to mess with the curtains. Just step away, dear sir.
I figured that she probably would. She grabs her pendant again, visibly shaken. Okay, I'll think about it for a while.
Thank you. Let's just talk about this first, all right? There's no reason for you to venture into the unknown.
But I want to. Oh, man.
What are you, a coward? Think about the marvelous adventures waiting for us on the other side.
Thank you, Horrific Necktie. You're here too.
Talking is always good. Go see what she has to say.
This is the thing. Okay, I chose empathy as my signature skill, but, like, when it comes to Disco Elysium, I feel like Rhetoric and I are BFFs. Talking is always good. I could literally say that. I probably have literally said that. See? Like, just, like, tattoo that on my face.
There is something mysterious about the curtains. Be careful.
Inland Empire. I'm beginning to think that this game doesn't have a supernatural in it. So my Inland Empire is beginning to calm down. But it could happen.
The curtains, tattered with age and covered in dust, hang before you, as if taunting you.
Shopkeeper, what's behind the curtains?
Nothing. Now please go back to browsing the books. Don't you feel compelled to look at the books? The books are all you care about.
She's trying to use mind control on me. It won't work. I do love books, but you're not a Jedi, ma'am.
She speaks almost as if she's trying to put a spell on you, urging you to buy more books.
Yes, no, that does definitely seem to be the case.
Oddly enough, the more she tries to draw you away from the curtains, the more alluring they become.
Let's ignore the curtains for now. Okay. She did tell me that we'll no longer be friends if I do it, and I don't know that I'm done with her friendship yet, so. Alright. Can I ask her more about it?
Hello again, esteemed officer.
I
and welcome
can.
to crime, romance, and biographies of famous people.
Why are you so uptight about those curtains? I just want to know what's on the other side. The power of consumerism compels you. Yes.
I already told you, it's just a storage room for employees. I don't understand why it's so important to you.
Because it's off limits, and I am a cat. Sophie, meanwhile, is snoozing on my bed. She's such a good little girl.
Just let it go, officer. Go buy some goddamn books. You're supposed to be drawn to the books.
You're supposed to be drawn to the books. What have you been trying to do to entice people, I wonder? Alright. My options. If it's just a storage room, then why does it have a 7-years ward protecting it? Or if it's just a storage room, then it wouldn't hurt if I just peeked inside. It's not like it's cursed, right? Okay. Oh, Adam Random Characters. Hello. Yes, I recognize that name. Welcome. Welcome to the live Lauren Talks Too Much show. As opposed to the archived and you can skip ahead Lauren Talks Too Much show. Okay, gotta think about this. So honestly, both of these, this actually looks like this is a case of Bioware writing. I'm sorry. Somebody did ask me to go in more detail. I don't mean to be mean about it, but no, these kind of feel like these are two different, generally, like, they're two different ways of saying the same thing. However, I don't think that the answer number one would have been there if I hadn't used, I think it was probably Encyclopedia, to pick up on the fact that that was a 70s ward protecting it. So that would indicate that that is the version of it that is slightly different because you got information. So therefore I'm going to pick that. So they're variations on the same thing. They say similar things, but one is information you wouldn't necessarily have. I might ask her that, and she may be more likely to talk frankly with me if she thinks that I know something about these things. And maybe Ocelot does. Maybe he's superstitious, we don't know. If it's just a storage room, then why does it have a 70s ward protecting it?
It's just for decoration.
She wavers under your gaze, mouth pressed into a tight-lipped smile. Then something breaks. Yes. Okay, so I do think the fact that I knew something about it applies extra pressure that makes her more likely to actually answer. Talking. It's amazing.
Okay, fine. It's just because this place is cursed, just like everyone said. They don't call it the doomed commercial area for nothing.
I'm pretty sure that's not the official name of it. I'm pretty sure there's something else that begins with the D commercial area, and this is what people call it.
Are you happy now, officer? Happy that you've ruined everything?
She closes her eyes and starts mumbling something to her pendant.
Take it easy. You've broken her resistance. Pushing her further will gain nothing.
All right. Gotta overanalyze literally everything. Sorry, that's what we're here for, folks. Okay, so I can ask her, how does this curse manifest itself? Or, why didn't you just tell me right away it's the curse? Or, 3, have you sought help from anyone? Okay, so I want to ask all of these, but I don't think I'll be able to because this doesn't have a continue option, so I have to figure out what I want. Based on what I know about her. Let's see. would she respond badly? It'd be nice if my memory worked a bit better. I'd feel a little more confident in picking dialogue options if I remembered things a bit better, but is she likely to shut down about an offer of help? Thing is, I think that she likes me somewhat as an authority figure. She has an inherent tendency to be deferential, if I remember correctly. So I don't know whether her dialogue options here will reflect the fact that I got through to her about her daughter and kind of made things a bit better here. Huh, let's see. Okay, so I don't know that I can anticipate kind of how she'll react to these things. So what information would I like to get out of this? Or failing that, what feels in character? It's hard to say because it's clear that he is a complicated man. And I don't know. Now that I know a bit more about how concretely harmful he was prior to my having control over him. And now he's sort of dissociated, and the different parts of himself have taken their own identity. It's very interesting stuff. Let's see. I'm gonna ask her, have you, because I want to say, have you sought help from anyone? I want to be helpful and supportive here. Why didn't you tell me right away it's the curse? Would give me more information potentially about her and her backstory and why she's closed off. And I am a nosy person. It's the worst. I really want to know everything about everybody. If you sit next to me on an airplane, I'm sorry. But I also would like to know what she thinks that I would be facing if I opened that. The thing is, I want to know all of them. I want all of these. I don't think it's going to let me have them. Have you sought help from anyone? Let's pick that. I want that.
Yes, I've contacted numerous parapsychologists and even a pair of Simonese mediators. They provided me with the wards.
She nods at the strange cage-like trinket on the curtains. I like the idea of it being like a cage that traps curses.
The wards help to keep the doom at bay and protect us against the darkness that lies further in the building. Even though now I fear it's not enough.
I think I do get to ask them all. That's amazing. I'm very excited. I can get all this juicy information. Please give me all the words. All of them. I will happily take them. Okay. I'm curious about this. Okay, how does this curse manifest itself?
The curse is so much worse than you could imagine. It's a disease, eating at the very foundation.
A shiver runs through the woman as she looks around the dimly lit store. Now, what would be kind of funny is if there is something fundamentally wrong with the, like, existential makeup of the universe in this game, and she's actually right. Like, there's, like, a corruption in the programming, so to speak. But you are, of course, likely to discount what she says as being this crazy lady who is paranoid about gossip and things. That'd be funny. All right, so a shiver runs through the woman as she looks around the dimly lit store. Well, capitalism isn't generally supernatural. However, that does not mean that you can't give it supernatural component or have a manifestation of capitalism brought to life. That will absolutely happen. Who here has read anything by Michael Ende? Who here has perhaps read Momo?
It's the curse of financial distress, of ruin and bankruptcy.
Her voice drops to a whisper. She peers at the curtains again. The curse. Okay, I gotta admit that was not what I thought this curse was gonna be. But I guess the curse is in fact capitalism. Yes, Momo and the Time Savers. That is correct. Okay, so the Neverending Story is like my favorite movie of all time. And the book is beautiful, but I haven't read it as many times as I've seen the movie because I've seen the movie way too many times. There's a Momo animated series. Is it German language only? Like, how do I find it? Man. You could have an interesting magic realism setting that has to do with economics. I would be curious about it. That would be really interesting. Oh, Italian. Okay. Interesting. I will have to look into that because Momo is, if you're interested in things that are philosophical and anti-capitalist, and you don't mind things written as children's books, Momo is most excellent. It's by the author who wrote The Neverending Story, which is itself a much more philosophical book than I think a lot of people realize. Hopefully not, Wilhelm. Hopefully not. This doesn't seem like they're gonna go that way.
Didn't that curtain just move?
Okay, so I can say, okay, I'm a little confused. What does that mean? Or, Annette mentioned that the previous tenants have experienced some financial troubles. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Annette mentioned something about the curse, and that's where I got this in my head, that this existed. Or, wait, that's it? I was hoping for something more paranatural. Which actually feels like what? That's a very Ocelot thing. I think he wants to believe in magic. I think that he's a desperate person looking for something to believe in. And if the supernatural can give him that, that might make it okay. He thinks that might plug the gaping void inside of him. I'm sorry, Ocelot. I'm not sure that it works that way. Alright. So I guess maybe I wouldn't have had all of these dialogue options if I hadn't had the conversations that I've had in the past. That's so nice. I find that very satisfying to be like, my previous conversations have led me to this. This game is rewarding me for talking to everybody. All right. Annette mentioned that the previous tenants have experienced some financial troubles.
It's not just that, officer. We're dealing with something supernatural here. It's the cacodemons feeding off bad business practices and disappointing income statements.
Okay.
There's something wrong with this building, I can tell you. Ever since I arrived, I've sensed an eerie lingering presence, as if I was unwanted here.
Sounds familiar.
Alright, empathy. So I can say, strange, I feel unwanted too. What does it mean? Or I can don't mention it. I'm gonna mention it. We're gonna connect. We might not connect. We'll see how this goes.
Truly so? Perhaps the dark energies are leeching off you. You shouldn't stay in the store too long. It may be dangerous.
Now I have some conclude things. Her eyes narrow as she tries to get a read on your energy. Oh, this is really okay. I'm glad. It looks like I might actually be able to go back there without making her mad, which is good because I like their story and I would like to help guide her to be a happier woman and a better mother. Just anxiety and low self-esteem. Yes, May. That's definitely. Oh man. Okay. Then I can ask more questions. Why didn't you just tell me right away it's the curse?
It's not good to talk about the curse, not in detail. The negativism, it's dangerous. Talking about the void wraiths angers them.
Void wraiths? How many different names for these things do we have? And you can always just call them by a euphemism. That's what people have been doing for thousands of years. If you don't want to anger them, you can call them the the neighbors, the good neighbors, the little people, the good folk. Yeah, I was just reading of it's been making the rounds again, the discussion of bear as a euphemism. It's interesting stuff. Because names have power. And you'll perk up if you hear that somebody is talking about you. Void Wraiths is a cool name, but it makes me think of like Final Fantasy.
Wow. Void raves. You have new words.
Okay, it was really fun hearing him say the word wraith with his accent, because TH in some British accents can turn into like a V or an F sound instead. And so it was like almost like a little bit of void raves instead of wraiths. Or at least something about it sounded a little bit different. It was the TH sound. It's very interesting. I love these little details. All right. Well, anyway, my apologies to anyone who has a British accent of some sort for my deep fascination with the different pronunciations in your part of the world, but I find them really interesting. You're allowed to point out my Canadian vowels despite growing up in Texas. That's okay. Oh man, we are all such interesting conglomerations of the life experiences and people and languages that go into our upbringing, are we not? All right. Is your pendant part of the wards as well? Point at her necklace. I'm glad that that unlocked, because she definitely does. Like, they make a point of highlighting how much she touches it. So to the point that it becomes, it's like Joyce and her coffee cup, you know? It's like the thing that gets mentioned a lot. It's her prop whenever she doesn't know what to do with her hands. But how interesting. I wonder how many languages have the TH sound. If it's any consolation, like, although, like, people who have speech impediments in English will sometimes instead of an S. So I wonder what that says. Because that's not a diphthong. It's not a combination. It's an unvoiced sound. I don't know what you would call that. If we have any linguists handy, please feel free to take the stage. I'm sorry, folks. Labial fricative. Okay. It's clearly like a different category than a lot of the other sounds and syllables. It's not as sibilant though. Dental, that would make sense because you put your tongue by your teeth. It's fascinating to hear what is hard to say in English if you're learning English as a speaker of other languages. I just know that for me, I know what I struggle with trying to learn other languages. Oh, is technically voiced? Duh. I don't know what the DH sound there is. Right. Sorry, we're having a moment here. This. Oh, this. Oh, this versus more of a th that you hear. Like theater. This and theater. You say those a little differently. Is that correct? Or with is the voiced version and this is not? That's so fascinating. Okay. Yeah, I guess when I think about it, I do think of people who are not native English speakers saying these words with like a D in place of the TH. Like dis or dat is something that you'll hear, even with some dialects of English as the first language in parts of the world that were, or people from cultural backgrounds in which like English was kind of forced on them, and then they kind of adapted it to be their own English. And I don't know. And I guess like an F sound I can see, and a V sound, like that's what you'll get in some British dialects. Oh, interesting. Yeah, because Dutch is interesting because I guess it's Dutch Germanic. Because I know sometimes I'll see words and I'm like, oh, that's close enough if I'm reading it. That's close enough that I can guess that that's probably the same as the word that it resembles in English. Okay, yeah. So we are Germanic cousins, and that gives us some what are they called? The words that are similar. Oh, I usually have this word, but I don't have this word on my head in my head right now. What's the word? Cognates. Thank you, Jan. That is literally the word I was looking for. Thank you. I usually have that word on the tip of my tongue, but I didn't have it today, so I appreciate you had my back there. Yes, Dutch has some cognates with English because they're both Germanic, and that's great fun for me. So that's how I roll. Oh, man. Sorry. But I suppose by this point you had to know, like, you're watching these, you know this is what we do. We break languages up a lot. Or break words up. Break words apart. Oh man. That is Z or a Z, depending on which English you're speaking. That letter has a different name. Oh man. Good times. Good times. Well, that's interesting. That is interesting. Maybe I'll ask my roommate, who's Spanish is her first language, but she's been speaking English since she was little. Maybe I'll ask her about the th sound. Like, they don't use it, but the same, like, I feel like Spanish in Spain uses actually a TH sound because one of their kings had a lisp, and so it became fashionable to speak like the king, but in other regions that didn't take off, if I remember correctly. I think American English is the only one that uses Z. Yes, if you say Z in Canada, they'll know what you mean. But they do default to Z in my experience. And I have one at the end of my last name, so it comes up. No, the alphabet song was clearly written by an English person, or by an American person. So I guess they probably have a different song or don't have the alphabet song in other English-speaking parts of the world. Yeah. Anyway, this has been a very long tangent about things. It will not be the last. Thank you for humoring my deep fascination. Just that languages are like a combination between like problem-solving puzzling, which is one of my favorite things, and people, which is one of my other favorite things. And you use it to talk, another thing I love, or to like read or write books, one of my other favorite things. How could I not be desperately in love with language and all of its many idiosyncrasies? You know? Anyway. That's fascinating. I hadn't thought about what other people might think Z was. Fascinating. Z and C. Yeah, to me they sound very different, but I also know that I can't hear any of the vowel differences in French, but apparently they're there. So I'm used to my language, and I think a lot about it. All right, let's get back to the video game, perhaps. Oh man. Okay, is your pendant part of the wards as well? Point at her necklace.
Oh, this? No, it's a special Himian amulet, blessed by desert pygmy shamans with a spell of compulsion. It's to compel people to buy books.
That's why she's handling it whenever she's talking like that. I thought it was like a nervous tick that she was warding off the curse, but no. She's like, come on, do your magic, make him buy books. Okay, so this is definitely white lady being sold people of colors traditional worldly magic, blah blah. This is a thing. Oh, the History of English podcast. I listened to a lot of that, actually. I found it really fascinating. There's also a podcast called Lingthusiasm about being enthusiastic about linguistics. And it's a relatively recent discovery of mine, but I love it. It's really great. I don't watch things. I can't even keep up with television or movies or anything unless someone else is watching it with me. I'm sorry. This is why I don't know anything about YouTube, despite using it. The idea behind Orientalism, yes, whether that term is officially limited to certain regions or is talking about that kind of mindset when applied to like all regions, it's that same kind of mindset, the exoticism of this other group of people.
There are numerous spells cast throughout the store. I had the books anointed with a different inducement spell, for example. It's guaranteed to boost sales 15%.
Oh my god, okay, she's got a whole bunch of spells. That's amazing. This is really interesting. She really, really believes in this deeply. The books were anointed with a spell. Yes, it's... Of course, like, how do you measure such a thing?
Desert pygmy shamans. That sounds like a rather questionable way to describe a group of people.
Yes, Rhetoric. Actually, okay, clearly I should have pointed out my own thoughts so that then Rhetoric could have backed me up. Yes, it was specifically the way that is phrased is very much the sort of thing that somebody who exoticizes others would say, and not a respectful term that is rooted in the way that different cultures may describe themselves, if that makes sense. All right. I am going to... Man, don't use your magic and capitalism. It's just, oh, that's a whole thing. All right, so I can either respectfully say I'm going to do this or disrespectfully say I'm going to do this. Obviously, I'm going to pick the respectful answer, and we also know that Ocelot himself is open to magic, so... Would you like me to take the case? I could investigate, see if the curse is real, see if she'll let me do that. Or I can say, I don't think the curse is real, I just want you to let me in there. She may not let me in there. She may be like, no, absolutely not. Besides, you said the energy was calling to you. What up, demons? It's me, your boy. Yeah, that's that. We're gonna have a cool paranormal investigation channel on YouTube. Me and Ocelot right here, right now. I mean, we have a flashlight, so that's all you need, right? I'm pretty sure. Let's ask this and say it. Let's offer to investigate.
Most certainly not. I don't want anyone who's not familiar with the psychic arts to get involved in this mess. Stay away. Leave the spirits be, so they can return to their slumber.
My liege, you know what this case calls for? A para-detective.
I love the fact that drama always calls me my liege. It's just so incredibly ridiculous. It's great. Oh, look at that! Oh. My friendship. I'm gonna save just because it's very likely that I'll succeed, but I might fail, and I don't want to do that whole conversation over again. So we're gonna go save. Yes, my liege or sire. Yeah, but that kind of sentiment. It's very funny. It's very Shakespearean. All right, folks. Are you ready to try to make a case?
Hello again, esteemed officer, and welcome to Crime, Romance, and Biographies of Famous People.
This makes me think that if you ask more questions, that will actually make this number go up. Like, you could maybe convince her that you know what you're talking about and then use that to make this number go up. But I don't need to. Because I helped Annette. Yay! Let's do this. Let's do this. All right. Convince her to let you investigate the doomed commercial area. Ocelot is not more dramatic than he is other things. It's not his defining characteristic. It's just also not his weakness. All right. Let's go.
Slither up to her, you silver-tongued fiend. Show her what world-class perfidy looks like.
Perfidy is one of those words. It's one of those words. You guys just had to stick that in there, didn't you? You just know they're like, yeah, vocabulary words. Yeah, we did that. No, it's a good word. It's just, it's not a word you come across very often. It works. It fits. It's very, well, so the thing is, drama is the, you might think that rhetoric would be the one that uses the, like, you know, $20 words, but it's drama that does it, not rhetoric. Even though rhetoric is about language, rhetoric doesn't need to show off its vocabulary. Rhetoric is not interested in showing off its vocabulary. Rhetoric is like, oh, interesting words. Drama is the show off. Drama is the one that is addicted to the thesaurus. Like, I feel like rhetoric read the thesaurus because thesaurus is really interesting. I'm sorry. Who here has never, back in the day, before everyone had a smartphone for bathroom reading, who never kept a dictionary in the bathroom as your bathroom reading? Like, that's a pretty common occurrence, right? Right? Please back me up on this. Oh, good. Thank you, Chrono. Thank you, Chrono. Okay, there is at least two of us. Or random volumes of the encyclopedia, but I'd rather have the dictionary. I don't know, Chrono. Well, I had my own dictionary and I wanted to read it. It's a great thing, like, you know, you just turn to a random page and just start reading. It's great. Okay, well, look. All I'm saying is that rhetoric would have kept the dictionary in the bathroom for a little light reading. I mean, I also read a dictionary. You can have more than one dictionary. Just saying. Parents, don't let your children sneak the dictionary into the bathroom or they're gonna turn out like me. Maybe. I might have written commentary in my primary dictionary with a pencil when I was a kid. I don't know what that says about me. I had opinions, and the dictionary needed to know them. Oh boy. I love the idea of a family gathering. Just pull out the dictionary because we had a question about a word and then we have to look it up. We do that here on this. It's great, except that you are all the ones who then go and get the dictionary and bring back the meaning for me. And if you happen to see another interesting word while you're there, you know, it's okay to bring it up. Marginality. Yes, that is May. That is, and that's a very relatable thing. If I were a monk, you can be absolutely positive that I would have left a lot of it. Oh, Krona, that is such a mom thing to do. Yeah, Blue Glass. I've definitely did that too. The dictionary was not the only book that I read in the bathroom. It just lived there for a while. Then my mom would take it out and put it where it was supposed to go, and then I would put it back. You know, like you do. It's like taking apart the clock in the room next to your bedroom because it ticks and you will go insane and you will break it if your mom keeps putting it back. There's just things your mom is like, no, the house must be just so. And you're like, no, nope. You take your best guess, Jess, and you ask other people and you try a few places in the dictionary where it might go. Yes, same, Chrono, ticking clocks are my nemesis. Anyway, this has been a very long tangent about perfidy. Perfidy? I've already forgotten how that word is said. Is it perfidy? I don't know. I should have paid more attention. Alright. So I can say, wait, what if I don't want to lie? Ma'am, I came here to help. I've handled paranatural situations before. I'm gonna lie to this woman. Although the thing is, what if I don't want to lie? I'm gonna take that one. We may load if this shuts this thing down. I just sometimes enjoy letting Ocelot's brain argue with itself. So let's see what happens. Wait if I don't want to lie.
You're not lying. You're giving her peace of mind. The means are thus justified.
Alright, drama. Drama. Oh, I just realized. It's a snake. It's a snake. Lying snakes, you serpent-tongued. Oh my god. That's true, we don't know that Ocelot wasn't a paradetective before all of this. He definitely seems to have an interest in the paranatural. So... Alright. Ma'am, I came here to help. I've handled paranatural situations before. You have to deliver it like you're a character on a television show. Drama is involved.
Are you sure? Don't think I haven't seen charlatans before.
She looks skeptical. Ha! Look at that! Look at that! You know what that is? You know what that is? That is... Sorry, I'm making him shake his head. The reason why I'm making him shake his head, skeptical in American English is spelled differently. I'm so delighted. I'm so delighted. Does that mean that it's spelled differently in Canada, though? Oh, shoot. There's all these words that I thought I knew the spelling differences, and then new ones keep sneaking up on me, and I'm like, damn it. It's like the word story, like a 3-story building. Has an E in it. Who knew? Not me. Oops. Oh well. So I can either say, I sensed the psychic emanations from afar. The sleeper beyond calls out. Or I can say, I have returned from the void. A paradetective from a long line of paradetectives. Oh man, which one of these dumb things do I want to say? Oh man. Also, he's just wiggling. I'm not doing that. He's just wiggling his own head. Ocelot, I refuse to take responsibility for the wiggling of your head. Alright. So. Don't you dare stop make him. Alright. I sensed the psychic emanations from afar. The sleeper beyond calls out. I have returned from the void, a paradetective from a long line of paradetectives. One is more in line with dialogue that I've said before. Kim is not okay with me just like shooting the shit about paranormal stuff and cryptids, but I'm actually going somewhere with this, so he'll allow it. Let's see. Do we want to go with Cthulhu? Or the Void? I'm gonna go with the Cthulhu option because I feel like it is in line with the story that I've already started telling. I bet I could feel it calling to me. I'm gonna go with 1. We'll see. If this goes badly, I may load my save. Void Wraiths, yes, no, she did mention Void Wraiths. But I'm gonna go with I sense the psychic emanations from afar. Because like, if you say like I'm from a long line of paradetectives, people can say no, there's nobody else in your family who's done this. But if you say I sense it, I can sense it, like who can tell you no? That's not history that they can point out and say no to. So we're gonna sense the psychic emanations from afar. The sleeper beyond calls out.
I'm not sure I can trust your claims. Honestly, you look like a bit of a drinker. I'm sorry for being so blunt, but...
She doesn't trust me. I'm too much of a druggie.
The lieutenant keeps his usual stony calm. He silently picks out his notebook.
I'm so glad that the game remembers that Kim is here too.
Go ahead then. Rock her world, he thinks. I'll compose some notes.
I believe the colloquial phrasing for this at the moment is let him cook. All right. I'm so glad. I'm so glad that Kim is just like, okay, all right, you do this. So I can say either, I admit I've had my share of drinks, but only because the spectral realm is parapsychology taxing. Or, you see, it's necessary to drink the spirits in order to contact the void. Oh my god, okay, so that one is fun because of the wordplay in English. And so I kind of wonder, like, in other languages, do they have the same effect with wordplay there? Because spirit refers to both alcohol and, like, ghostly things. It's great. That never gets old. Okay, so in German they do. So that's where we got it from, probably. Well, I wonder if they translate this line differently in other languages. To try to find some way to have that intrinsic wordplay. Because right now there's some ambiguity about the spirits. Like, oh, I'm drinking supernatural spirits. I'm just gonna chug a po like I'm Link or something like that. Oh, man. I'm really glad I came in here so far. This has been much more my comfort zone than, like, dead bodies and racists. Give me silly supernatural stuff, books, and language. Yes, we'll do this. All right. I mean, I feel like the first one is the better choice. Oh my god, Zilili. That's really funny. I appreciate that. Zelda has underage drinking because you can make a child consume spirits. See, it's funny. That's funny. It's very funny because you see, you can bottle a po in one of your bottles and then you can drink that po, but it's a ghost. And so a ghost is a spirit, and again, a spirit is alcohol, and you can drink it. So that's funny. Sorry. Oh man, language! It's so great. I love it so much. It's one of my favorite things in the entire world. Humans made music, and they made language. That's pretty cool. Oh, I should get back to trying to learn German. I'm attempting to read The Neverending Story in German with a dictionary. With a dictionary and my obsessive knowledge about English, which actually helps you with German, because some of the rules that have changed in English are still relevant in German, grammatically speaking. So if you are aware of some archaic English grammatical rules, then you have a slightly easier time, as opposed to like Romance languages where I'm just like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? Oh man. Well, I feel like it's a much more likely to make Lauren happy way to learn another language, because it's all about puzzle solving, trying to figure out like, wait, is that word related to this other world? Let's look at my dictionary. Yes, it is. Oh, you can imagine what that's like. You've seen me. You've seen this. Just imagine this. It takes me like 20 minutes to get through a single page, if even. Yeah. Longer. It's so much fun. I've only gotten through like the first chapter of even that, the prologue. Anyway, yeah. So, like, I feel like the first one is a better answer, but the second one has wordplay. I want to choose one, but I don't know if I can not choose two. I don't know if they make a difference at this point. Because they just... I admit I've had my share of drinks, but only because the spectral realm is parapsychologically taxing. Like, that sounds like I'm like, you know, I'm a I'm a paradetective. Like, just it sounds like it. It sounds like it. Whereas, you see, it's necessary to drink the spirits in order to contact the void. Just like, it just doesn't have the same level of bullshit. I'm gonna have to, okay. Bullshit. Wordplay. Bullshitting. Wordplaying. You know what the most frustrating thing about the German language is? Is the fact that you don't have an existing word for the thing that I can only refer to as word smashing. Or at least I asked our German-speaking Flutie Pies on the Discord server, and they said that there's not, like, the word that people use for it. I think it's really clever, though, because I'm like, okay, well, fine, I'm just going to call it word smashing in English, but I'm smashing words together to make that word, so I'm doing the thing to illustrate the thing. I mean, it's like compound words, but it's more than a compound word. It's not the same as a portmanteau, because a portmanteau is a language that you don't usually put words together all the time, and these words have happened to be put together in this case. But the Germans will just, like, smash, and they'll have, like, entire fucking pile-ups of nouns that just get the spaces removed and become one big thing. It's so cool, and I love it, but they didn't have a word for it when I asked, like, what do you guys call it? And they're like, that's just how the language works. We don't have a name for it. And I'm like, word smashing it is. Sorry. I promise I'll actually play the game. I think this is maybe the most language. No, but it's not just a compound word, Zulily. Like, it's, like, a compound word is, compound words are rarer. They are not a standard part of grammatical construction in everyday sentences over and over. Like, a compound word serves, like, a different role. Like, you can make a compound word and it can become agreed upon as a compound word, but, like, it's just like just a grammatical thing that they do. It's just like just a part of how sentences are structured, I suppose. It's just how words are used. So it's not the noun of it. It's the I mean, I love the fact that it exists as just a way that you can communicate things. It's like how in English you can make any word into a different part of speech if you try hard enough. If you want it to, you can verbify anything. And I love that. I love that very much that's one of my favorite things about English. Not every language does that the same way that we do, but that's just like a thing that we do. But we don't have a word for verbification that I know of. We might. But it's just a way that like German just is. Just words get put together a lot. Like that. It's so great. It's fascinating. I love it. So I'm calling it word smashing because for me it's enough of a novelty that I need a word to refer to it so that I can talk about how cool I think it is. Composita? Okay, well I mean it's okay if there's just a German word for it. I can do that badly. I think my German accent is slightly less bad than my French accent. Oh, which I'm having to use on this stream sometimes. Yeah, see, look at that! Isn't that cool or interesting? I just love it. Like, what the hell? You just put all the words together and it makes a thing. It's so interesting. Anyway, I'm out of control. Clearly, okay, this is me like recovering from the stress of last week's stream. We'll get into like the big heavy like game plot stuff later. This is self-care. This is self-care. It's amazing. Just getting distracted about language constantly. I am in a mood tonight. All right. I'm gonna go with 1 and see if she'll take it. Because it's just, I'm sorry. As much as I love the wordplay, I'm gonna go with this one. Even if 2 might make Kim giggle, I don't know.
How do you know all this?
Okay, I managed to convince her.
Here we go.
Okay, I feel like okay, at this point it looks like the second option is meant to be the dumb option. So the void and the spirits was the dumb option, perhaps, in the first one. So I can either say, your wards brought me here in the first place. The Summonese blood also runs through me. I don't know if I'm comfortable. But although I honestly, genuinely, I don't know what Ocelot's cultural heritage is. I do not. However, I suspect this might be cultural appropriation. That makes me a little uncomfortable. However, I am the Void Revenant. I have the powers to debad all the bad energies. Okay, so it looks like I'm gonna have to do a little cultural appropriation to do this. Oh God. Yeah, so blood quantum sure is a thing. All right. Cultural appropriation for the greater good. Okay, how's this? I'm gonna pick the culturally appropriating answer. I may change my mind and load the save. I'm going to choose this for Ocelot in the moment because it is the best argument that I have to try to to convince her of the thing that I'm trying to convince her so that I can hopefully get to the bottom of this mystery. I, as Lauren, must acknowledge that this is a problematic thing to do. We can go on a tangent about why this sort of thing is a problem, if you want. Do I need to explain to folks why blood quantum ideas are really harmful and damaging? How much damage they've done in like US history alone? Or are we good? Do we all know that one? Okay. notice that I reference this as his cultural makeup, his cultural background, and not his genetic makeup. All right. Let's be a little culturally appropriative here, shall we?
You're part Simonese. Oh, it means our meeting couldn't have been mere chance. The hand of fate guides us.
She eats it up with a spoon.
But I am not the only one at risk. I have to think of my daughter. You are certain you can help us? Keep us safe? I can't allow any collateral damage to hit us.
Okay, I could go off on a less problematic tangent about why Americans are interested in their ancestry, and it's because I think people generally need some sort of a cultural component to their identity, and that is like our heritage is where that comes from usually. And you can't necessarily go and borrow someone else's. Like there are cultural identities that you can join and say, this speaks to who I am and what I believe in, may I join you? But that's not all cultural identities. So having some actual claim in your background to it means that when you have this big gaping void where culture would go, there's a guiding place to something that you can say, oh, that I actually do have a right to this. And yeah, there is really no like white culture, and a lot of individual cultures have been destroyed in the creation of whiteness as an all-encompassing identity. It has kind of crushed that. But also, it is true that a lot of people in the US as a melting pot place, people do have different components of their cultural background as well. And so you can say you identify with one more than the other, but you may have, like, you know, very, very Italian grandma who was a big part of your upbringing on one side, and a very, very like Irish grandpa on the other side of your family, and like, you know, you inherited parts of both of their cultural backgrounds. What do you do then? You know, so that's an interesting thing to think about. Whether you have people from different cultures marrying each other and merging their different backgrounds and what that means for their children. Or, like, you know, take me, I am, if we're going off of my, like, heritage, I am 1/4 German, 1/4 Ukrainian, and then 1/2 Ukrainian Jew. Of that, the only part that I was raised with culturally, the only side of my family I really knew was the Jewish side of the family, but they weren't practicing or involved in any sort of Jewish community. And I grew up completely outside of any sort of Jewish community in Texas. So, like, what's my cultural history? What's my cultural background? What's my heritage? Where does that part of my identity come from? I've started kind of trying to get involved with some Jewish community, and it's been interesting to see where that overlaps with me personally. I think it's because there isn't something in place of it. The accent you speak with, the cultural signifiers and mannerisms you have, that's not how you identify yourself. Furthermore, like, I have a Canadian accent, and I grew up in Texas. Like, what does that make me? You know? My dad's from Brooklyn. My mom's from Hamilton. Her parents were immigrants. Like, what is my cultural background? My Jewish father wasn't comfortable with my mom, who grew up speaking German as her first language, raising us speaking German at home. What is my cultural background? What is my identity? Whose holidays do I get to celebrate? I'm not Christian. You know, it's complicated. And so my roommate is from Mexico. And so when we take turns cooking, and she will cook, sometimes she'll cook other dishes that she likes, but a lot of times she cooks Mexican food because that's what she grew up eating. When I cook a like giant cross section of random things that I've enjoyed at restaurants or read about online or various things like that. But I don't have a cuisine that I grew up with. I just don't, you know? We had a lot of like frozen meatballs and canned spaghetti sauce, shake and bake chicken and macaroni and cheese. Like latkes, yes, I can make latkes. But like the cultural markers that are a part of who you are, where you come from, what you do, what you bring, who your people were, all those things can have value. There are people for whom that's not. But like, what is American cuisine? Yeah, my particular circumstance with my cultural heritage is complicated. I understand why my father was not comfortable with my mother sharing her parents' heritage with us as children. But like, American cuisine is a mishmash of a lot of different things. Like the fact that I cook from, like, you know, maybe Americanized versions of Italian dishes and Irish dishes and Russian dishes and things like that. Maybe that's the American cuisine that I am not focused on one particular background. But barbecue's not even American. It's very regional. I am from a barbecue state. Texas takes its barbecue very seriously. But it gets complicated because even the food that people think of in these other like cultures, like, you know, where did tomatoes come from? Why do we associate tomatoes so heavily with Italian cuisine when they're not originally Italian? Why do we associate potatoes so strongly with Irish cuisine when they're not originally Irish? You know, sorry, these are the things that I'm pulling from because food is on my mind. So it is complicated, and I'm not saying it's necessarily an easy thing. Well, the thing is, these aren't necessarily questions that I don't know the answer to. I'm just more highlighting that it is complicated. But I think, at least speaking for myself, I feel that there is a hollow void inside of me where I would like to be able to relate to and connect with other human beings. And I would like to know something about who and what I am. And for me, an option potentially could be people who are connected to my ancestors. And so that's something I've been kind of learning a bit more about. But it's complicated. So that's kind of why that's kind of why Americans are so hung up on like kind of where their people come from, is because there's kind of a void and they want something to fill that void, and it is generally more polite to fill that void with something you actually have a connection to than to take somebody else's thing, which cultural appropriation. I think there's a difference between being a nationalist and relating culturally to people who have a shared background. Like, there's a way to do it that is not fascist. And I wouldn't say that it's inherently fascist just because nationalism is a part of fascism, if that makes sense. Man, we have gone on more tangents. But this is what we're doing. This is, I guess, the stream of tangents, of all tangents. And cultural appropriation is a problem. There are ways to be respectful of other cultures and to share culture with other people, which is a bit different than cultural appropriation. But also, cultures that have repeatedly, consistently, and actively been extremely, extremely harmed by cultural appropriation for a long time, maybe they're a little defensive, and maybe they call things cultural appropriation that might actually just be cultural sharing, for example. But I think they're allowed to be a bit defensive given the cultural, given the history, you know. So I will defend people's right to fight cultural appropriation, to be uncomfortable with it. The strongest example is just the way that the, you know, indigenous nations in the US in particular, like, or that, you know, Black American culture, they have been systematically devastated basically since the inception of the country, and then pieces of their culture have been taken away that white people can use, but if they use it themselves, even though it's their own culture, they'll get penalized for it. Like, these are things that happen, and that's bad, and that's the problem. And you know, maybe it falls under racism, but it's a more specific issue. You know, maybe a lot of cultural appropriation is also racism, but it is its own problem. And I think that it is worth pointing out, because people will say, I'm just being respectful, I just love your culture so much. It's a little more complicated about that. So it's a complicated subject and not one that I'm an expert on. But I am uncomfortable borrowing the culture of marginalized communities that I do not belong to. I am aware of the historical context to some degree. And it's not a black and white, this is 100% good and this is 100% evil, easy to define thing. It is going to have a vague line in some cases, and some people are going to be all right with some examples and not others, and other people will disagree, because no people are monoliths. But in general, I think it is important to be aware of these things, to be mindful of them, to try to do our best, and when we take actions, to try to take actions with compassion, understanding, context, and care. And work towards a future where we can borrow each other's cultural elements, perhaps, without the baggage that comes with it now. But like it or not, the baggage is there now. So, anyway. There we go. There we go. We did it. We talked about cultural appropriation. I don't know if we've talked about that yet on this particular stream, but I know I've talked about it on streams. See, I can talk about this stuff. Again, admittedly, I'm not an expert. I don't know if that would be like a sociologist, would be somebody who studies that, or people who specialize in studying marginalized cultures, and are scholars in those fields and things. But I do listen to people and try to learn as much as I can. Anyway, there is something that is really interesting here that I have to point out back to the game, which is that because Plaisance herself is presented as being silly in the way that she's superstitious, and because the way that she's fighting these things is culturally appropriative, I guess maybe I could have put that on Discourse Elysium, the different screen, because we sure have talked a lot about things that aren't the game. That's gonna be fun to timestamp. No, Plaisance is not, her superstition is not positioned in a way for you to take it seriously. And because that is consistently done in the delivery, even though I am usually a person who's like, but what if this was magical realism? But what if this was real? Like, if there is something evil lurking behind that curtain, Ocelot, to my knowledge, is not equipped to deal with that at all. to my knowledge, Ocelot would be really ineffective at fighting Cthulhu, you know, as far as I can tell. But we think it's safe, it's fine. She's just ridiculous and silly. There's not actually a curse that's going on here. There's not actually demons. I'm not actually putting her at risk or anything like that. It is totally fine and dandy to do this. But there's an assumption that you're making as a player in doing this. And I'm usually a person who is not necessarily willing to make those assumptions, or at least who doesn't default to. So I find it interesting that the portrayal of this has made it so that I'm like, no, it's fine, it's safe, I can go back there, it's gonna be fine, nothing's gonna happen. The game could do a gotcha on me, and it could pull out, like, actually, yes, you have endangered this woman and her child because you lied and you didn't take this seriously, and now Cthulhu ate them both. Like, it could do that. And I, as a player, could see that happening because I do not rule out the possibility of that. And it would be an interesting way of playing with expectations. I'm increasingly thinking that they don't seem to actually want to go in the direction of there being supernatural stuff in this world. But there's always the possibility that they might gotcha. And so I feel like I have to acknowledge that there is the possibility that this is not just a woman being paranoid, that the collateral damage that could hit her child, it could happen. Now, granted, it's probably more likely that I'm going to get the mob shooting at me. And by the mob, I do mean Everett. But it could also be Cthulhu, to say. So we'll see if that comes back to haunt me. I'm just like, well, all right, I guess we've got a problem on our hands. It turns out that we did wake Cthulhu in Disco Elysium. All right, so our answers here are no problem whatsoever. Your family is safe. The phantoms are no match for me. Or just ask my partner, Kim. He'll vouch for me. Kim will not forgive me if I pull him in on this. He's willing to let me do my bullshit, but he doesn't want to be part of it. He's just going to stand back. He's like, I won't stop you, but I'm not getting involved. And I shouldn't get him involved. I don't think that'll go well. I don't think he'll play along. A mob run by Cthulhu. I bet the internet has done that. I bet you can find I bet you can find fan art that someone has drawn of Cthulhu wearing pinstripes. So, I did almost say Discourse Elysium. That is correct. You got me. Yeah, okay, so I'm going to go with making a promise that may come back and bite me in the ass if it turns out that Everett is Cthulhu. That is true. We have had no proper confirmation that Everett isn't an elder god. No, that's true. So I can say with confidence, your family is safe. The phantoms are no match for me. I may regret this. It depends on what this game is doing. It depends on what they want. We'll see. I'm going to go with it.
If you promise, good officer, then you might be our last hope. Do you swear it?
So I can either put my hand on my heart and say, on my honor, or actually, I'm not really feeling the vibe anymore. The psychic force has left me. They really give you chances to step away from this, which makes me actually wonder if there's actually going to be something going on there, or if they just want to show how seriously she takes it. I don't know, because I am approaching this game. Who knows? I have no idea what they're going to do. I can't predict anything. I'm going to swear it because I'm committing to this. I'm going to take on this task. We will see how this goes. On my honor.
Thank you, sir. There's one more thing I haven't told you about yet. The entity.
Oh, good. That sounds promising. I love that she waits to tell me that until I say that yes, I'm going to do it.
Do not act surprised. You know of these things, sire.
Thank you, Drama. You always got my back. So I can either say the entity or, of course, the entity. For I have sensed its presence. Okay, so I can't actually act, but I can act bad acting. So You're gonna get that. uh, I've seen that show. I get that reference. I'm so proud of myself. I like never watched television, but I did actually at the start of the pandemic. I watched The Good Place. It's really good. It didn't do what I wanted it to do. I wanted it to just follow the characters and just have a good character story, but they were trying to do something. So once I kind of got on board with the fact that they were trying to do something and say something about humanity, and that was the primary reason, and the characters were part of how they did that, that I was like, okay, fine. I will meet you where you are. And it's really, really good. It really is a very good show. Do you like philosophy and figuring out what the hell is going on because you're not actually given any explanation for things? And well done human characters with really glaring character flaws that are still really endearing? Because if you do, may I recommend The Good Place. Oh my god, the last season you will cry. It's really good though. It's really good. No, Lovecraft County is way too horror for me. I can't actually do horror. The Good Place is not horror. But the yeah, we've all seen it. It's funny. So yeah, I would say actually, if you like Disco Elysium and those elements of Disco Elysium and you're looking for a television show to watch, I think you will like The Good Place, which will also teach you about different philosophers and what their schools of philosophy are all about. Anyway, look at me recommending a television show like I'm a normal person who watches TV or something. It's crazy. All right. I'm gonna ask her about the entity to clarify what it is that she is talking about. Oh my god, Chrono, no.
Yes, a malignant entity that lives inside the chimney. It takes the form of a woman. A witch, most likely. She, or it, must be connected to the curse somehow.
Okay, interesting. So I can either say, chimneys aren't big enough for that, or chimney, the passage between heaven and hell, of course. Okay, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, there was some point during the, like, ooh, let's all get into the occult era of, like, the Victorians, I think. Is that the right era? Anyway, if they did actually have this whole thing about it, because you see you have fire below and the sky above. It's great stuff. Oh my god, I'm glad to know that the philosophy puns are continuing. Well done. Well done. Okay. So I have to continue playing along. So, chimney, the passage between heaven and hell, of course. And she'll be like, yes, quite right, of course. We'll do this.
Yes, that chimney is part of the building's central furnace, and it's enormous. She has barricaded herself behind some metal security curtains. God knows what she's doing there.
I'm really curious about this. If this isn't a supernatural person, it's just a very interesting character. Or if perhaps she is a supernatural person. I really want to know.
Some unnatural magic, I assume. You should go find the entity and ask what happened to all the companies in the building. What is the source of this curse? Here's the key to the warded door behind the curtains. Take it.
Okay, screw progressing the plot, man. This is what I want. This is what I want to do right here.
Oh, and please do return to me after you've looked round. I'm quite anxious to know what she has to say about the curse. What you discover in there.
Unbelievable darkness and ruin.
Thank you, Inland Empire. I'm excited. My Inland Empire is like, whoa, there could totally be a magic supernatural element in the story after all, or else there could be this really fascinating character who's like really outside of things that could give me an interesting perspective and maybe tell me something about how the world works. This could be really cool and fascinating. And also it's Inland Empire is like death everywhere.
What you discover? probably just some office space. Don't be scared.
I'm sorry, but the juxtaposition of Inland Empire and logic at war there is perfect. Those absolutely should be in opposition to each other. Amazing. Although sometimes you can use your logic to fuel your Inland Empire. Anyway, I'll ask a few more questions about the curse.
Okay, but please, only a few questions. You wouldn't want to disturb the spirits.
Okay, I think I've actually asked all of them, so I'm going to go ahead and never
The
mind.
woman looks aloof, her features much softer. Occasionally she glances at her daughter's silhouette.
I'm pretty sure that is the change that happened once I befriended them. How brainy am I? Oh, you mean my character? Hold on, we're gonna save. My character is that. This is my character. He's got a pretty good big brain. I think the next time I get a skill point, I'm gonna put it in rhetoric again, because that makes me really happy. I could put it in all sorts of other things that would be really useful, but rhetoric is really what I want. I want maximum rhetoric. What's the downside? Hold on, let me see. What's the downside of maximum rhetoric? I gotta know. At high levels, rhetoric will make you an impressive political beast, one whose beliefs are impenetrable, which is to say, one whose mind will not change, one who will calcify. That's that word that I was trying to remember if there was an alternative to before. With low rhetoric, you'll have a hard time shooting down any argument. Okay, maybe I don't want it to be too high, but I'm pretty sure I can squeeze in a couple of extra points. I don't know what the maximum is. High levels, empathies. You'll be a more unstable cop. That's fine. I can deal with that. Alright, folks. Maybe I should ask this little girl if she's got anything to say. Annette! Do you have anything to say about the curse?
Hi, Ace Detective.
No?
Are you...
Okay. I have decided that she is the cinnamon roll character in this game. I don't think that any of the adult characters could be cinnamon rolls because this game is too complicated, and the people in it are too complicated, but a child can be. Alright. Hold on. I just realized. Alright, hold on. Who made the call reporting the crime? And to keep searching for the caller despite lacking any obvious leads. Though I appreciate this might take some time, so they're telling you, okay, it'll come up eventually. Don't feel like you've done something wrong. Give yourself some time. Good night, Ergo Parado. Run the number on the victim's armor. We're gonna call back tomorrow. And we're going to investigate. Okay, so who put the clothes in the trash? Oh, why did this not get... But I got this answer. I got this answer from Sylvie, right? Oh, wait, no, I didn't ask her. No, I didn't ask Sylvie about the clothes. I asked her about my book, my thing. Okay, never mind. We're fine. It's fine. Oh, that's right, because that wasn't my clothes. Never mind, I forgot. I didn't ask about that. I was conflating things. My memory is kind of a mess. Got it. Kuno can resemble the cinnamon challenge, yes. Painful. Might make you sneeze. I'd have to run away crying. Alright. The whirling secret passages. I'm really excited about that. Hey, Blues! Oh, you know, we're just gonna go investigate Cthulhu. No big deal. People say the commercial building on the plaza is cursed. No business will ever thrive there without going bankrupt. You promised Plaisance you'll look into it. Enter the sealed door behind the bookstore and find out what happened to the companies there. Search for the malignant entity. Plaisance said she lives inside a chimney. Find a way in. Sweet. Which ones of these are done? I don't know, but it's done. Okay. Well, I think I'm pretty good with my clothes, my gear. Oh, I'm gonna want this. Yeah, I'm gonna want that. Musical instrument, visual calculus. If I ever want to tone drama down, I have this option right here. As opposed to the glasses that I currently have, which give me logic, which I like, and reduce authority, which I like. I will never put on the bum hat because who wants less rhetoric? I always want more rhetoric. That lowers my half light. I can never remember what half light is. Sorry. This one is shivers. I like that. Okay. Here we go.
You see a set of tattered curtains blocking the way to another room. A strange cage-like trinket dangles from the curtains.
All right, well now we can pull the curtains open without getting yelled at. So we're going to do this.
You see a dimly lit room full of dusty furniture and trash. A doorway stands in the back, covered in dozens of scary little Seminese wards. Your shadow looming over it like an omen.
Like an omen. Beautiful writing, perhaps a little dramatic.
Oh!
A small, terrified "oh" escapes from Plaisance as she tries her best to look away, her round face buried in her hands. She knows that this is going to happen, though, so... I'm going in here with her blessing. Wow! Is this a lamp? No. Ghostly silhouettes of hairdryers. Oh, this used to be, yeah, because if you look at this, these are the chairs that you sit in after you've gotten your hair done at an old-fashioned salon. And this looks like a poster from a salon showing off cool extreme hair. A vaguely androgynous portrait of a man. It looks kind of like David Bowie. And then this door is covered in things. All right, are you ready, folks?
A heavy door with a missing handle stands before you, covered in dozens, if not hundreds, of Seminese trinkets and charms.
Wow.
It appears to be locked.
So I can knock on the door, unlock the door with a key, or break down the door. Wow, I do not have a very high likelihood of getting that, but fortunately I have the key. I'm gonna knock on the door, just to see.
Only an echo. No one is there.
Alright, we're gonna unlock it with the key.
After exerting some force, you manage to turn the key. It's eerily silent. The door slides slightly open, letting a draft of cold air into the room.
Alright, so I could say, Kim, maybe you should go first, but I'm not gonna do that. This is my bullshit. I'm not making Kim take point on this one. I'm gonna open the door and enter. Okay, so that was a hair salon, and this appears to be a gym. Sand is dripping from a punch bag. Oh, there's something to say. Kim wants to talk. Are you ready to talk to Kim? Let's talk to Kim. Oh, it's 5 o'clock. That's probably why he wants to talk. He's probably going to tell me, look, you gotta go do what you're going to do with Measurehead. Let's see what he has to say. He's probably going to yell at me for it being 5 o'clock and we haven't gotten that down yet.
What is this place?
Oh, no, actually, he does want to be, he's actually talking about this thing that we're doing. Do you notice he's talking in a hushed voice? Because that's kind of what you do when some place is like this and creepy and weird. The lieutenant stares at the dusty training equipment. So I can say, it's an adventure! Or, it's the netherworld, beyond the veil. Or, looks like a gym to me. Or, I think this may be the Artemitep's boxing club for young athletes. Which, if you'll remember, we spent way too long investigating all of those things that we could push and none of them were there. Oh, and there was that person that I spoke to that sounded like it was coming from another dimension. Or might have been from television. I don't know. But I'm going to go ahead and pick the answer that I think I can only get. I like it when there's answers that I only have because of things that I've done. That makes me very happy. And I only have this because Kim, or not because Kim, because I looked through all of that stuff before. So we're going to go with the Tamitat's boxing club for young athletes.
I think you're right, though it looks like no one's been here in ages.
I got points. I got experience for that.
I doubt the electricity still works. Good thing we have a flashlight on us.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I hope our flashlight doesn't run out.
An eerie feeling rises in your chest.
So I can either say, what if there's a reason why no one's been here for ages? Or let's just keep going. I'm sure it's just a regular abandoned house. Nothing mysterious here. You know, I'm allowed a little bit of clown shoes, I think, given what we're doing here. So what if there's a reason why no one's been here for ages? Let's see what he has to say. Kim will be like, no.
Yes, because it's closed.
You're just going to rain on Inland Empire's parade there.
No need to look for supernatural explanations where a banal one will do. Now let's move on, shall we?
Amazing. I wonder if you get more points. Oh man. So I wonder if I'm going to go through all of those places. The poster says Citius Fortis. The rest is worn off. Okay, so I'm assuming that Fortis here means something to do with strength. But I don't know what Citius would be. Or what language that is. Shot put ball. Oh, that's worth something. Okay, it's abandoned. Worn out wall bars. They look unsafe. Yeah, do not try to climb the rusty old equipment here.
A barbell lies on the floor. The color has worn off its weight plates.
Do not lift this, Ocelot.
It's 60 kilograms. Your triceps hum at the sight of these weights. Show the world what kind of beast it's dealing with. Lift them.
No, I will die.
There are no collars on the barbell. This is a safety hazard.
Even without that, although that is a good point, I will totally die.
Why does it feel so familiar?
That's funny. Legendary. I noticed the collars. Is this familiar because I'm a weightlifter? That is a good question. Perhaps I was at some point in my life.
No, it's not that. It's the stale smell of rubber, the squeaky sound of sneakers, your bruised knee against the mat, and a whistle. Then the feeling is gone.
Okay, for me that feels like that's gym class in school and not being necessarily great at it.
It's just a memory.
Look, Kim, it's a trap. There are no collars on the barbell.
You're right. The weights may fall off. Better not touch it then.
What kind of a bastard would just remove the collars? It should be a felony. Or actually, I don't really care about safety hazards. These are both kinda clown shoesy. So I'm gonna go with this clown shoesy one.
It would be a violation of EPIS safety regulations if the gym was still operating, but it isn't. No one's supposed to come here anymore.
Well, I'm glad to know. I don't remember what EPIS stands for, or if that's even an acronym I know, but I'm glad that Kim knows this. Alright, I'm not gonna lift the barbell. I will absolutely die if I try, and I don't really want to die. It's not high on my list of things to do. I mean, the thing is, like, I can always, like, save, die, load, you know? We can do that, because I don't think it'll take very long. Do you wanna watch Ocelot die and then load our save? I would feel bad. I have a hard time with that in games. Let's go up here. Somebody translate 60 kilograms into pounds for me, please. I only have 1 HP. So I will die. The hallway is blocked by old window panes and debris. Oh wow, that is old window panes and debris. 132 pounds. Okay, yeah. No, that's a lot. Especially with a deadlift, which is what he would be doing there with no spotting. Looks like the remains of the 24-hour window repair shop. Oh yeah, okay, so that's an observation because I looked at all of that stuff. Oh, we got a new song, folks. If that even counts as music. So this was a window repair shop, and then it has come apart. But yeah, don't lift weights without a spotter if they're at all heavy like that. Like basically you gotta have like the little things that you can safely do this with and stuff like that. But anything that's on a bar, you should have a spotter at all times. There's paperwork all over the floor here. Please notice it, Ocelot, because I want to know about it. Ocelot says no. There's nothing here for him to see. Okay. Oh, it is getting a little creepier in here. The music is getting, like, contributes to an ominous attitude. Anyway, we got a bird that looks kind of like the one that I might have smashed. Wild animals stare at you in the dark, stuffed and mounted. Poor animals, no rest for their bodies after death. That was an empathy. That was an empathy thing, wasn't it? Purple is empathy, right? Yeah, psyche. Yeah. I wonder what else you think if you have different attributes. If you could see, if you see the bird and think something about hunting or think something violent or hateful instead of that. A large demijohn full of strange liquid. That appears to be like a giant bottle of like oil or wine that I've seen in restaurants. It's like it's a big bottle full of liquid. That sounds... Sorry, I'm thinking Oxenfree here. That sounds like radio signals. Oh, they're really leaning into like slight horror imagery. We've got dead, you know, we've got dead animals mounted on walls. We've got mannequins here. Airship rotors covered in spider webs. They remind you of blades. And you hear like a little bit of a voice. Yeah, this definitely has horror vibes. No, I don't actually feel like this is a horror game, so I don't think this is actually going to give me horror stuff. Plus, I'm pretty sure that the mods would give me a warning because I don't do horror stuff. So I think we're okay. I don't think we're actually going to deal with. What is this place? All right. A naked mannequin torso, a strange yellow color. Oh, is this cloth? This must have been a dressmaker? No, because that's blue velvet, soft to the touch, moth bitten. Okay. What? Okay, so there's a... So I found the LARPers. I'm trying to remember if there were was there a LARPer thing? Because... like, there's... or no, it's probably theatrical. Maybe it's theatrical. This is definitely an elf, because he's got a sword. Beautifully drawn. He's got a sword, and he's got elf ears. They've got swords here. And then that's for making costumes and mannequins, maybe, for that. So, it's probably theater, not actually LARP. But, you know, what's the difference, really?
Your flashlight slides over an old green chalkboard covered in scribbles, sketches, and schemes, like some ancient cave mural.
That's a really funny way of putting it. And look, this is like people's names or something, probably keeping track of who's going to do what. Here's a bunch of photos. This is probably our mood board. This is the location. Looks like a hut. And there's people, some scenes. This is our hero. This is exciting.
Some of the writing has faded with age, but you can still make out sections here and there. Photos and drawings have been pinned to the board.
Oh, I'm really excited about this. Or maybe it's a I don't know if there's like camera work here, if this is actually like a low budget TV show thing or something like that. I don't know if they have TV in this. We know that we have radio, but all right, inspect the drawings.
These lithe, pointy-eared creatures appear to be different types of welkins. You make out autumnal candle welkins casting wax-based magic.
Welkin, what country, though that's actually a term for elven creatures of some sort, or gnomish creatures. Are they gnomish creatures? In a real world culture, I feel. I appreciate wax-based magic. They're candle welkins. That's cute.
Translucent welkins, with organs shining under their skin, and even ether welkins, hailing from the vast emptiness of sidereal space.
Okay, I don't know if any of our German-speaking people are present to confirm or deny, because I think it's probably well past your bedtime. Some of these seem vaguely in line with, I think, what we heard about the cryptids, so... So we've got elven creatures.
Who are all those creatures? Fantasies of a tortured, feverish mind?
So this is fun because okay, so it's not German. That's fine. I don't know where it is, but I know that Welkin is actually a term that you'll encounter in I am pretty sure that Welkin is actually a word in some, at least fantasy, maybe folklore. Icelandic, maybe. That gives us something to investigate. Encyclopedia! But in the meantime, this right here is really funny because this is they are clearly huge nerds. And this is them poking fun at their huge nerds.
You should adopt one of those Wilkins as your persona. No longer a mere man, but a Welkin.
Amazing. Incredible. Okay, an archaic British term for the heavens, because I've heard the name Welkin before, I think in the context of critters of some sort. Alright. I need to have my role-playing character. Alright, Ocelot. I may not be able to play you, but you and I can both play your Ocelot Sona, your Welkin Sona. Welkin Sona? Right? That would be what we would call this, right?
One of the Welkins, towering among the rest, appears to be different, however.
This is the guy with the sword. Examine the Welkin. This is important. Or else I don't care. Step back. Obviously, I care very much.
It's Vara Hamira, a high Welkin, his face white and scarred like cracked marble. This is clearly a Welkin supremacist. The note says, all non-Welkin races will be purged.
This is clearly a Welkin supremacist. Like, the fact that this is clearly, like, some, like, ridiculous fantasy time, like, LARPers or theater or whatever it is that they're doing. And then it's treated very seriously because this is Disco Elysium. And we treat ridiculous things seriously and serious things ridiculously. That's how we roll around here. Alright. I mean, to be fair, high elves are like that. Sometimes they can be pretty racist.
The Haldor, the Twarg, the humans, and even headless men, all of them, purged. Imagine a world filled only with Welkin, Green Welkin, Dread Welkin, and the High Welkin to rule them all.
Okay, so we've got the humans, the dwarves, ogres? Right? Orcs. Okay, so that is Middle English for dwarf. Okay, fantastic. I'm just trying to figure out this one. Headless men is really interesting. I don't know. I can't think of any equivalents in fantasy stuff that I can think of.
An inordinate amount of time has gone into drawing these little Welkin creatures.
We also have to point out something to rule them all. I'm pretty sure that's the phrasing of, and in the darkness bound them, or what is it? The ring. Oh, from Scandinavian folklore. Okay. Okay, so I can say, why would anyone spend so much time on this? Or, who are these creatures? Who drew them? Are they real? I have so many questions. Or, one of them is a Welkin supremacist. Or, well, this has been educational. Let's move on from the Welkins. I have so many questions. Let's see what Kim has to say here.
This looks like concept art for a project. It's not really real.
Kim was like, I better make sure you know this. Why would anyone spend so much time on this?
Some people really like building a world, I think, even if it's just for a game.
Oh man, who could he possibly be calling out? It's a mystery. We wouldn't know anyone like that. Certainly not. Okay, that's really adorable because they did do an extraordinary amount of world building for this game, given that they could have just made something set in the real world or like in a normal feeling fantasy world. But instead, they did something. I don't even know how you describe the setting of Disco Elysium. It's like near real. It's like near real, recent past science fiction secondary world-ish. It's interesting stuff. Anyway, I'm excited about this. Oh, good. I'm glad that they made a homebrew tabletop game that they played together. That's wonderful. Oh my god, really? Wait, so Disco Elysium was his homebrew tabletop setting? Okay, that explains so much. So much. Oh my god, that's delightful as somebody who has run games in my own homebrew settings before. And then repurposed parts of that setting and characters from those games and things in other stuff that I've written. I cannot judge. That explains the depth and how much there is, like, because a lot of times, like, there's kind of like two ways to do world building, really. There's world building where you only, like, basically put up a facade of exactly what you need to see for the story that you're telling in this instance. And then there's world building where you've just filled the whole thing out, including what's not even shown. And this has felt like the latter, and decades of college D&D would explain it. Amazing. Amazing. All right. I'm so delighted by this. This explains a lot and actually in some way has sort of shifted my thinking about this game and what it is and what it's doing and its world in a way that I can't fully articulate right now. But I think that if I think about it long enough, I might actually be able to articulate why that's changed it. Well, okay, no, so if they created the world specifically to tell the story that they are telling right now, then that would mean that everything in the world as we encounter it in this game has been created for the purpose of facilitating this particular story that they want to tell. If the world existed prior to this story, if the world is developed separate from this story, then that means that like what we are exposed to in this story will be what we need to supplement the story that they're telling. And they may have shifted or changed things a bit to accommodate what's necessary for this particular story they want to tell. But it means that from the ground up, the world does not exist to serve the story, which is a very different way for things to be. And that actually means that I will approach the things that happen in the way that the world is built different, with different expectations because of that. Does that make sense? Is anything that I'm saying making any sense at all? I don't know. I think a lot about things like this as somebody who writes and tells stories and has run games set in my own original world. Also a tabletop homebrew system game set in the Mega Man X universe. So, like, you know, we do what we do. That was fun. I repurposed parts of that to put in a book that I've been writing too. Not like X or Zero. They I don't think I could lift them, but some of the original PCs fit into the book that I call the Robot Story. Heart of the Machine. Maybe one day I'll return to it. Anyway. Let's get back to this game. Speaking of getting back to things, I'm so delighted by this. This is very cute. One of them is a Welkin supremacist. And Kim is going to be like, that screws. People shouldn't be supremacists. I hate fantasy racism. I hate real racism.
Mm-hmm. political commentary. That one has a great beard, too.
See, because there's fantasy racism in this fictional world that we're playing in right now. Political commentary. Amazing. Amazing. Also, I'm glad that Kim is appreciating this guy's beard and doesn't seem to be... He's not personally offended by the existence of fantasy racism, because it's political commentary on real-world racism. That's great. Amazing. Okay, well, I'm absolutely delighted by this. Well, this has been educational. Let's move on from the Welkins.
Just look at those details. So much effort.
Kim is really enjoying this. Oh my god, Kim, will you play D&D with me? It just makes me think of, what's his name? Actor. Fast and the Furious guy. Vin Diesel. Vin Diesel trying to get Dame Judi Dench to play D&D with him. Doesn't he have his character's name tattooed on him? It's really great. I just think he's delightful. Wait, did she actually do it? Oh, I thought he tried and she wouldn't. Did he actually play D&D with Judi Dench? Oh, man. And we were denied seeing that. I would have loved to see, like, even just, like, a tiny clip of that. That's amazing. Good for him. Good for him. Incredible.
And for what? All gone.
Empathy, come on. All right, there's more stuff to inspect. Let's do it. Yeah, well, apparently when they were making the game for his pitch black character, whose name is escaped my brain, even though I know it. I know it. When they were making the game, he was so excited they had to ban him from coming into the studio because he would just get in the way and be like asking questions and hovering over their shoulders. Riddick, that's it. Yes, thank you. I know these things. I just have memory issues, so I'm gonna do my best. This is a nice thing. You folks can serve as encyclopedia for me. But I'm like, yeah. All right, inspect the photos.
The photo collage depicts barren, icy landscapes wrapped in perpetual night. You see permafrost and glacial landforms, dead trees grown in under the snow.
Okay, so they're very much doing a, like, Nordic style setting here, I guess, like, way up north.
Entire oceans have been frozen from shore to shore.
But extreme.
There are pictures of settlements on dried up riverbeds, abandoned in a storm. Animal corpses in the dark, carcasses and bones.
Oh, it's a grimdark setting. Oh, okay, all right.
You see primitive oil rigs built into glaciers, boreal dvorg, yurts under the snow, great mammoth-like beasts of burden.
Okay, they left off the by, so if you didn't have the print text here, that would have been confusing. It's by boreal. Does that mean... So I know it's Aurora Borealis, so that must mean... Is that northern dwarves, basically? I'm guessing. Okay. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Did you see I did words? I did words! I love this. It's really fun. Okay. So, the northern dwarves.
A pinned postcard reads, "The heat death scenario. A desperate fight for geothermal energy engulfs the world as Wirral becomes untethered from its sun, drifting through the universe."
Oh, there was a movie that had that kind of as its premise. I think it was based on a book. I watched part of it with my family a few years ago. All right, let's inspect the schedule. Is this going to be them having failed to meet their deadlines again and again and again? The Wandering Earth, that sounds familiar.
This is a monthly calendar from the year 50. Cryptic words like sprint, daily minimi, and GPI span the marker-drawn grid, the grand scheme of production and money.
Okay, I'm familiar with sprints in the context of pipelines for production pipelines and things like this. What year are we in? I know that they've referenced 51, but I think we're not in 51, are we? I will never get that down. I like the use of the apostrophe 51. We are in 51, okay. Like, it sets it outside of time in our real world, because who knows what century it is. We don't need to know what century it is. We just need to know how these numbers are in relation to each other. March, that's right.
Everyone is constantly teetering on the edge of the abyss. An abyss of production. These squares look orderly, but beneath them is chaos, worry, pain.
Commentary on game development life.
Minimi stands for a mini meeting. It's part of a bigger framework for managing work called RUN. Station 41 tried to implement it a few years ago, but failed.
Oh man, okay, this is one of those project management systems. Those things. I don't do very well with them. I need somebody else to come up with them and then basically just tell me what I need to do and expect that I will not be able to keep track of it. But I will be apologetic. Yes, agile. That's what it's called. Yes. Did not take. The cops did not do that very well. All right, keep reading. What happened? By the way, crunch is bad, and I would rather have games come out late and not be crunched. We should all feel that way.
As time goes on, the numbers in the boxes grow rarer and rarer. The board becomes an empty snowfield in the final days. Only failure and regret dwell in this region.
Project Dread board. Is that what it's been called this whole time? And I just now noticed that. Okay, so they could not hit their deadlines, and slowly their dreams of this game fell away.
Looks like they didn't make it.
The lieutenant looks at the frigid ice field of nothingness. He is sympathetic to them.
A note in the bottom left corner of the chalkboard says, "See the prod schedule filament for details."
Okay. Inspect the notes.
The handwriting is only partly legible, but you can still make out 3 slogans: Call in, Tune Out, Wirral Untethered, and Heat Death of the Universe.
Call in, tune out. I wonder if the idea was that you could call to hear parts of the story. If it was going to be kind of like a play by phone call experience or something like that. I don't know what that would be, but that would be really interesting. All right, well, we're going to continue looking at things here. What is this one? Somebody's written all over this board.
This old fireplace is covered in lines drawn in blue and red marker, the mesh spreading over the stone like blood vessels on alabaster skin. It looks ghostly and strangely ancient.
Okay, I need to go look at other things before we look at the fireplace. Blood vessels on alabaster skin is such an evocative image, and I can see it.
A diagram for summoning some time-forgotten being. The symbols seem very esoteric.
It looks like this is based on something in particular, though.
The whole thing resembles Kadran mosaic tiles. Very pedantic.
I don't know what those words mean, conceptualization. Hold on, how do I know what Kedron mosaic tiles are supposed to look like?
History classes, students with their textbooks open, studying the roots of our civilization. Those aquarelle blue tiles looked beautiful in the sun.
Ah. What am I looking at?
Radio frequencies, it seems. UKV 123.6, UKV 123.7, UKV 123.9. Some written notes, too. Sparse and cryptic.
So that's what they mean by, like, it's like tuning in, calling in, something like that. They were trying to broadcast this on radio stations, I guess. Notice that he says UKV 123, not 123. Returning to our earlier conversation about the th sound, the, here being replaced with fa. Radio frequencies for what?
Unclear. It looks like a cardiovascular system split into veins and capillaries. Very advanced.
Capillaries? I'm used to that being pronounced capillaries. Is this a Britishism versus USism? That's fascinating. Somebody can confirm or deny that, I'm sure. So I can either say, so we're dealing with something medical here. This must be an elaborate piece of art, or, of course, the anatomy of the curse. Then I go with these one at a time. Or, yeah, no, this must be an elaborate piece of art. We'll go with that.
You think so? The web is comprised of radio stations, all lead back to one red heart, titled the Game Master Frequency. A note says, this one can listen in on any station it wants.
Oh, fascinating. This is fascinating. Wait, who's the game master? Or if it's a game, then who's playing? Okay, who's the game master?
Someone very important.
This is the writer who probably served as the GM of their own games.
A conductor for the hundreds of story threads that pass through the Game Master's frequency.
Fascinating. So it's like LARPing, but on radio. Kinda. If it's a game, then who's playing?
Whoever decides to call in to a call-in station, it looks like.
Fascinating.
All of this is gone, left unrealized.
That's a really cool idea.
There's no way a little basement studio working here could pull anything like this off.
Yeah, it is pretty ambitious. That is for sure.
My god. It's as if the less money they had, the more ambitious their project became.
The lieutenant leans closer, his fingers tracking the maddening rhizome. I assume that's how that word is said. Why do you say that, Kim?
The schedule. I know doom when I see it. The company was running out of funding.
He nods at the calendar on the chalkboard, wiping his marker-stained fingers clean. I love how you can, like, see him, like, nodding over, like, he's, like, nodding over there, and then, like, wiping the marker off of his, it's great. What else? Squint at the lines.
Nothing. It's just lines on marble. An echo from times long gone. No one has used the fireplace in ages.
I kind of wonder if I missed something there. Scribbled across a notebook. Developers of the most advanced RPG in the universe. Okay, I really love that they did this. I'm delighted. Oops, that this is the direction that they opted to take. Okay, what is this?
This appears to be some kind of machine with a cube-shaped heart and a wired framework. The keyboard has a rectangular on-off button. A piece of paper still hangs from the printer.
Mainframe. So this is a computer, the keyboard, and a printer.
A radio computer. Just sitting here without anyone inside.
He sounds surprised and a bit cautious. He's watching me circle around the machine. Do you think I should turn it on?
We have one of these down at the station, but I never really learned how to use it.
Kim is scared of computers. He's like, Cyan! Kyan! From Final Fantasy VI. I'm going to turn on the machine. See what happens. When did I save? It's fine.
The machine lights up like some prehistoric animal stirring from its slumber, revealing fluorescent play and print keys on the keyboard. The hatch on the machine's central compartment is wide open.
Okay, when they put the game bit in Kentucky Route Zero, I got what they were going for and what they were inspired by, but I don't know that it succeeded super well for me. This is interesting. And yes, that sound is very effective. Let's look inside the compartment.
It's empty like a beehive without its brood. Some cables have been left dangling, disconnected.
Fascinating.
This is where the memory should go.
The lieutenant notes, observing the machine. So they've taken the memory out. Well, that's probably good. Let's press play.
Nothing happens.
Let's press print.
Nothing happens.
Press play again.
Nothing happens.
All right. They left their computer, but they took the memory. Oh, Kim has something to say. Let's see what Kim has to say about this.
Okay. What do you think is going on with that computer, chalkboard, and fireplace?
Oh man, someone tried to exorcise the curse using technology. Or looks like an undercover counterintelligence program. Or 3. It's just a failed business. The only question is, what the hell were they making? I'm gonna go with that. Maybe. Because the other 2 options don't make any sense to me. So I'm gonna go with this.
Yes, that is the question.
The lieutenant takes a step back, steepling his hands. He is intrigued. He wants to play D&D. He wants to play radio D&D so badly. Kim, I wouldn't tell on you if you LARPed.
It looks like one of those popular pen and paper role-playing games. Only these people were trying to automate it, make it work on radio computers.
Interesting that they're radio computers.
Utter madness, he thinks, as a compliment.
Oh, he loves technology. No, that's right. He loves cars. So I guess it makes sense. Maybe he loves computers. Okay. So I can ask him, I think I probably can ask him all these questions because there's this conclude option. So how were they planning to do that?
Through call-in stations. None of the players have to be physically present. Anyone in the world can participate in the game, as long as they have a two-way radio.
That's really cool.
Then there's the game master frequency that listens in on the smaller call-in stations. I think that was supposed to coordinate the stories, functioning as a master of ceremonies of sorts.
I love this. Is clearly people who love tabletop role-playing really digging into this. Has anyone ever done this before?
Not to my knowledge. They make automated games in Graz, Messina, Königstein. You know, places with industry.
That is German, if I'm not mistaken. Don't remember what I know about Grad or Messina. I know that I've heard both of these names. Is this what this isn't Fantasy Spain, is it? Is that the one that the Pale Driver was talking about? And then Grad, is that Russia? Is that Fantasy Russia? Because this is presumably Fantasy Germany right here. Sorry, that's how I'm gonna call them from now on. Mesk. Okay, Messina, Mesk. You can see how, like, my brain being what it is would get those two confused. But I'm pretty sure that Grad is Fantasy Russia or related or something like that. I think I've seen that one before.
Not in Revachol West, among the ruins.
Yeah, how ambitious to make a game in a place that is outside of where games are usually made.
But I don't think anyone has attempted to create an inter-isolary game before. We just don't have the technology.
That's really cool. Okay, various Slavic cultures. That could be perhaps why I'm confused and not make like an automatic assumption. Okay. And this was a role-playing game?
Indeed. Those Welkins are a dead giveaway. Role-playing people love that stuff. The world looks like a modified version of the We Were board game, with hit death thrown in.
Kim. You nerd. You nerd.
Super cool. Someone should give them millions of real immediately. This game is too good to be left unfinished.
Oh, man. Okay, this is a little bit of meta humor that is making me laugh. What do you think happened to the company?
No idea. They stopped filling out the schedule on the chalkboard.
Wow. Conclude.
Indeed, it's ambitious and untethered from reality, but...
Okay. Either they were insane if they thought they could do this. It was just a play to cheat money out of their investors' pockets. The curse got them? I see no other explanation. The world is cold and lonely. This would keep it company. Let's finish it. Or, do we have any money? Let's give them more money so they can finish it and make it even bigger. Amazing. The world is cold and lonely. This would keep it company. Let's finish it. I feel like that's a bit of a sentiment that these people want to say with their game.
It's too late for that, I'm afraid.
A half smile breaks out on his face. He looks around the derelict room. The pipes howl and a rat crosses the floor. That's beautiful. This is just a little throwaway line in this little small side quest section, but it is a beautiful idea. And that's why we make things, isn't it?
Okay, let's keep moving.
Oh, that's lovely. I'm really enjoying this. We're gonna take that money. Oh wow, this is gonna make my life easier as far as being able to afford. Is this Emma's atelier? Okay, so that would have been one of the businesses that I saw. I'm identifying them all now. I am really enjoying this part of the game a lot. This is exactly what I needed, so I'm glad I decided to go talk to Plaisance again. Yeah, it's a nice break after Sylvie and racists, and we're gonna go talk to another racist. Wow. Okay, I'm gonna maybe be able to afford a place to sleep tomorrow night too. Okay, so there's a door over there. We're gonna just keep investigating over here. We're gonna go through here. Yes, the money is useful. Doomed commercial area. Oh. Skis with slipstream printed on the laminated top layer. Slipstream was a thing that we saw on the call board thing. Steel rotor blades bearing a slipstream logo. Production schedule filament memory. Okay. That's worth a lot of money. I'm gonna put it in here though. See what happens. I'm gonna save first though. Because I think that's what this is. I might have misunderstood things. See if I can put that in. Oh, wait, hold on. No. Inventory. Items. Production schedule filament memory. The cube-like crisscrosses of filaments feels oddly fragile in your hand, its intricate structure covered in dust. Silver tape on the side reads production schedule. Note, this filament contains information that can be read using a radio computer. Go stick your stuff. I grew up on King's Quest. I will absolutely try to use item on thing. What else have we got here? Shot put ball. A ball used for playing shot put, a favorite pastime of elderly gentlemen. You feel like you should hold on to this and make good use of it. To sell such beautiful old school sports equipment would be a sin. Oh, I wonder if I can play it with the old men. Alright. Yeah, I was kind of wondering about technology, so we're getting to see it. This world that they built, we might as well dig into it some more.
Tiles on the cube are still smoldering, casting the framework in a soft glow. Fluorescent play and print keys shine on the keyboard.
Insert the production schedule.
Like a smooth draw, the filament slides into place. On the keyboard, the play key starts blinking.
Press play again.
A bar of fabric right above the keyboard starts producing a soft hum. The sound of static seeps through the machine's planar magnetic driver.
Fantasy technology.
Have you stirred the ghost of the doomed commercial area from its rest? Could this be its dismembered heart beginning to flutter?
This is one way in which his inland empire and my inland empire will not be going in the same direction. Because I'm from a world where computers are normal. In fact, playing this game on a computer.
The static gets louder, slowly filling up the abandoned hall, until a voice speaks out, crackling and old, cutting into the air.
Of course, it has to be voice. It can't be written because it's best if we're able to hear it, because this is primarily, honestly, this game is primarily an audio experience.
Good afternoon. Doctor's accident en rue de Saint-Ghislaine. This is East Insulindian Capital Station.
Oh, she even said, So she's French. Fortress Accident. Is that the name of our radio?
Please repeat. Is this the production schedule?
Wait. Is this not a recording? What's the production schedule?
The filament you have inserted into the reader.
You mean that glowing thing I put inside?
Yes. Is that the production schedule?
How am I talking to someone? I don't know. Yes.
Good. Please repeat the password.
Password. Of course it would have a password. That's why there's a human administrator involved.
Oh, that's why it's a radio computer. Fascinating.
You should ask her for a hint.
Okay, so I can say a password. I'm really bad at passwords. Can you give me a hint? Or, is it my birthday? Or, this is the police. Please open this thing. Or, I don't know the password. Let me see. I'm really bad at passwords. Can you give me a hint?
No.
I didn't think so.
A hint system is not part of the protocol for repeater stations.
But a hint system is a part of the protocol for playing adventure games back in the day. This is the police. Please open this thing.
I am contractually obliged to protect the privacy of the filament holder Fortress Accident. Without filing a warrant with Lintel, I cannot give you access to this filament.
Okay.
I'm afraid we are not doing that, unless we want to wait for a month.
Now, can you please repeat the password?
The voice in the machine asks again. She sounds cold in the damp air. I don't know the password.
Received. I will register this login attempt.
Don't worry. Passwords have a way of turning up sooner or later.
Okay.
Fortress Accident. Is there anything else I can do for you today?
Why did you call me Fortress Accident?
Fortress Accident is the company on whose name the terminal you are currently using has been registered to.
Do you have any other information about this company?
One moment.
You hear her flip through a catalog before she reads out with studious care.
Fortress Accident SCA produces revolutionary interactive call-in radio games. That's what the catalog says.
That's delightful. Okay, SCA makes me think of the Society for Creative Anachronism, which is also a bunch of huge nerds, but probably not what they mean here.
That's not bad.
And what's that? This interactive call-in radio game?
Any other questions?
You hear her ask when the static drowns out her response, and then you hear her ask this when the connection finally improves. So what are you, a machine, or are you alive?
Yes, I am alive. I am 74 years old and my name is Yvonne.
She repeats passwords. Programming people are all paranoid.
They either say, Yvonne, my partner tells me that you're here because radio computer guys are all paranoid, or, okay, but where are you? How did you know where I am? Let's ask this question.
I work as a repeater at the East Insulindian repeater station. It's my job to know where you are, Fortress Accident.
That's really funny.
As for me, well, I am sitting in my cubicle, surrounded by a wall of radios.
Okay, I'm sorry, but I love that she's, like, clearly, like, bored and lonely. So she's happy to just chat with me about things.
Doesn't it get lonely, sitting there all by herself?
I'm just saying, that's obviously where they were going with the fact that she bothered to explain what her surroundings looked like. There is actually a really lovely comic online, about a woman who calls into another woman. I don't know if she's like trying to pull her or if the other one is calling for tech support or whatever, but anyway, they wind up developing a relationship over it, and it's really sweet. You should absolutely read that comic. I don't remember what it's called, and I have nothing more than that to tell you, but It's gay on the internet, so you've got to be able to find it. Yeah, empathy and I are sometimes on the same page. Doesn't it get lonely doing this job?
Lonely? Why would it get lonely? I get to talk to people all day.
Okay, that's fair. That's pretty great.
That's why she does this.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Being an older person who maybe you've had a previous job and a family and now you're alone. Or you can just talk to people on the radio all day.
Now, please tell me if there's anything else I can do for Tres Accident.
Alright, Yvonne, I'll get back to you later. That's all for now.
Thank you, and goodbye.
The old lady's voice disappears along with the static.
Tiles on the cube are still smoldering, casting the framework in a soft glow. Fluorescent play and print keys shine on the keyboard.
Okay, so I can't help but worry that it's like if I take this out and put it back in and take this out and put it back in, maybe it'll fall apart. Because I have played King's Quest 2. And I'm also worried, like, if I leave it here, maybe somebody will take it because it's worth a lot of money.
The filament slides out of its glowing nest.
So I'm going to take it with me and hope that there isn't a limited number of times I can do this because this isn't actually a Sierra game. If you have played Sierra games, you know why I'm concerned.
Your flashlight slides over. Some of the writing has faded with age. The handwriting is only partly.
Okay, I'm trying to see if there's a hint anywhere here.
This old fireplace is covered in lines drawn in a diagram for summoning. The whole thing resembles Kadran.
Okay. Well, it doesn't seem like there's new stuff that's opened up there. Okay, well, I'm glad no one interesting seriously. Actually, you're familiar with King's Quest 2. You know the bridge of which I speak. And it is there were some bad design decisions involved in that. But to be fair, they were kind of inventing the genres. They went, oh, wait. What was that?
Looks like someone tried to reconceptualize their business here.
I don't get it. I could discard the thought. I don't get it.
Look, the skis and rotor blades both bear the same Slipstream logo. It seems likely that they started out making one, failed to turn a profit, and then pivoted to producing the other.
That's a good point, and I hadn't thought through that. Because rotor blades are such a weird thing that I'm just like, yes, obviously you could make both of these things. Oh man, yeah. Playing a Sierra game with a language barrier would be even more frustrating. I love King's Quest despite all of its challenges. But yeah, I'm glad that game design has evolved since then. I should play the new Strong Bad game. I believe it's probably an adventure game in the style of Sierra because that's what they usually do. All right. So, but the question is, which did they start with and which did they pivot to? Or what a strange leap of imagination, and yet they still failed. How sad. Finished thought. Or that's just speculation. We don't know anything for sure. Finished thought. No, let's go ahead and think about this. Why not? What's the worst that can happen? I get a thought and then I decide whether to use it or not. The question is, which did they start with and which did they pivot to?
That's a good question.
Ah. Okay, never mind. I'm going to say that's just speculation. We don't know anything for sure.
Not quite. You do know that there's something unusual about this company's business model.
Do I? Conceptualization? Please remind me because I don't remember anything. Oh, okay. Well, that didn't really go anywhere. Kim? Where are you going, Kim? Kim, honey? What are you doing, buddy? Kim, honey? What were you gonna go do over here? I feel like I should walk past everything now because you'll get thoughts sometimes. Because I walked past that other spot before too. Or that other space, but I hadn't seen all the things, but I think I saw some things in here now. Okay, so there's nothing there. Kim, do you want to go look at the nerds stuff? There's a door. Let us save. Even though we haven't done a whole lot, we're going to save anyway. Because apparently we can have infinite saves. Alright, let's see what's out this way. Oh! Where am I now? Am I outside or inside? Oh, there's a giant bear with glowing eyes. That looks pretty evil, guys. I'm not gonna lie. It looks pretty evil. Okay, we've got money. Magnesium, that's useful. I kind of want to boost my morale here. Because I had taken some morale damage for something that I'd said earlier. That is definitely a cursed looking thing. It looks like a fridge. It looks like a fridge that someone has sculpted a snow bear around. And that looks like... Okay, so that looks like a fridge, and this looks like a fireplace of some sort. The wall collapsed. It's inaccessible. We're gonna look at the furnace.
A thick layer of coal dust covers the furnace, coloring it pitch black. Looks like this furnace has a face, and it's a face of agony.
Oh, I don't really see it. The mouth is open, but I don't really see sad eyes, which are really important for that. Okay. Kim, what is this thing? Is it a furnace?
Looks like it. Looks like an old central furnace used to heat the building. It's connected to the chimney.
He opens the door and gingerly peeks inside. Okay. This is probably where the witch lives. Maybe I should have talked to the cursed bear first. Sorry, folks, we're going late tonight.
No one has used it in ages. No signs of any recent fire. Only dead rats.
Let's go look at the cursed teddy first. Alright, it appears that there is actually power going to it. So I wonder if the woman is an artist.
You see a terrifying ice bear with a strange compartment in its belly. The door is covered in frost, and the bear's eyes are glowing red.
I was right. It is, in fact. The visuals, like the art, does a good job of conveying what you need to know. That it looks like it's sculpted out of ice. So there's an. I think that presumably the old woman who lives in the chimney is an artist, and she's created this, which is really interesting.
The bear looks oddly realistic. Is it taxidermy?
What is this thing? It looks like a giant ice bear.
The lieutenant doesn't answer. His eyes are glued to the animal. A sharp slice of light shines out from its mysterious belly door.
All right. Kim is terrified and has nothing to say. Crack open the door. Let's see. Hopefully we won't get eaten. I'd be really excited if we get eaten here. I'd be really fascinated. Crack open the door.
A gust of freezing cold air rushes to greet you. You hear a low grumble as the bear regulates itself. This is the inside of a refrigerator.
Yes.
The lieutenant takes a peek inside. His hand has found the holster of his gun.
I'm not going to tell him relax, Kim. It's a fridge because he does not like being noticed if he does something embarrassing. And being scared of an ice sculpture with a refrigerator in its belly is something that he might be embarrassed about. So, yeah, no, bears are very scary. You know, I get it. Yeah, let's look inside the refrigerator.
The shelves are empty. All you see are crumpled ice cream wrappers with the brand name, Revachol Ice City. A handwritten note has been attached to the door. The fridge is huge.
Okay. I wonder if this used to belong to the nerds, and I wonder if it was actually not an ice bear. I wonder if they had some big fancy bear thing that they thought was really cool and fantastical that they put around their refrigerator, and it just happens to have had ice fall on it, or snow fall on it, so it now looks like it's ice. And this is actually going to be their like hint. This is going to be the password. We'll see. Take the note from the door.
You pocket the note and the little fridge magnets keeping it on the door.
Excellent. Examine one of the ice cream wrappers in there.
A friendly cartoon bear smiles back at you from a glossy cellophane wrapper. It looks nothing like the fridge.
That's funny. Because I also wonder, like, maybe was this like... Because this wouldn't be like a... This looks like a break room or something like this. It's set up. It's a strange thing. It's a strange thing. Everything about this is strange. Okay. What is a giant bear-shaped fridge doing in an abandoned cellar in the first place? I'm blaming the nerds.
Good question. It looks like an ice cream fridge.
The lieutenant reaches for one of the wrappers. He studies it in the light. It's actually a freezer, not a fridge if it's for ice cream. So they tried to sell ice cream from this hyper carnivore. That's funny. Yeah, if this is like another failed business attempt. If all of the businesses that have tried to set up shop in this building have been like absolutely like hyper specialized in some weird, really ambitious way, and that doesn't work, which would make sense, the bookstore is also highly specialized and weird. So they tried to sell ice cream from this hyper carnivore.
I know. What an unfortunate marketing choice.
Yeah, that is an interesting choice. Kim is not comfortable with the bear. I wonder if there could have been another dialogue option there, but there wasn't.
What is even worse, the bear is still costing them money to this day.
The lieutenant points at the red snaky cable running from the fridge. Yeah, well, I assume that somebody is paying for this, and the power is still turned on, but I don't know who or what.
The fridge buzzes with energy. The electricity bill on this thing must be catastrophic.
Let's close the door. Okay. We're going to take a look at this note we just got. A handwritten note you found from the giant ice bear fridge. It still bears some marks from the fruit-shaped kitchen magnets that were used to secure it to the refrigerator door. Let us interact with it.
The note is written with a blue pencil on a piece of lined office paper. The kitchen magnets have left spots on its surface.
All right.
Does it say anything interesting?
The lieutenant leans closer to read the crumpled note over your shoulder. He is... Sorry, for all that Kim, like, tries at, like, absolute professionalism, he gets curious, too.
This is tangential at best, but the lieutenant's detective instinct is still active.
Of course. No, obviously. We're trying to get to the bottom of a mystery, obviously. Read the note.
Someone has scribbled, S. I can't believe the off-site copy is still here. The illiterate ginger kid keeps stealing stuff from the studio, so I had to hide it somewhere safe.
I wonder who S is. I can't believe the off-site copy is still here. The illiterate ginger kid. So obviously that's Kuno. Keeps stealing stuff from the studio. Presumably this is the game studio. I don't know.
You'll find the filament memory with the off-site copy in the frozen ice cream maker. Please take it home, ASAP. It's important. I'd do it myself if I lived in a civilized place with a freezer. Take care. Sully Swaff.
Oh, that is... That L has a dash through it and is another letter. It sounded like he said Sully Swaff. Like, I can get the W as a V sound for me, but is that like a wah sound with the thing that looks like an L with a angled dash? Polish, I've heard, is a very difficult language to learn to speak. So, I wonder who wrote that note.
Looks like someone from that radio game company upstairs. I'm a little surprised they just left their property lying here.
Okay, I'm just really interested. Okay, so filament. Like, why do they have an ice cream maker? Filament memory with the offsite copy and the frozen ice cream maker. So I guess I'll have to look for that. Does the filament have to be in cold places? Maybe. I don't know. Okay. Maybe they had to leave in a hurry.
That's a plausible hypothesis.
He would have made fun of me if I said it was the entity. Okay, remind me again, what's a filament memory?
It belongs inside a radio computer, storing its memory. It's like a tape. You listen to disco tapes, right? It's like one of your disco tapes, only for a computer.
I mean, I guess maybe if, I don't know. Disco tape. It's like a disco tape for a computer. I love his, he's trying to explain this in terms I understand.
It's like the production schedule you found. Only this one's an off-site copy.
They're like, hey, remember you got one of these already. So we're going to recognize you got one of these already. Okay, so if it's an off-site copy of the game, then it's somewhere, I don't know. Okay, who's the illiterate ginger kid? Obviously Kuno, but we'll ask this so that Kim can say obviously Kuno.
Really? You don't have a single guess?
The lieutenant looks at you, the corner of his mouth curved into a smug grin. That's funny. I guess you could probably come here even if you hadn't messed with Kuno. So I can either say, you mean Kuno, or no, no idea at all. I wonder, okay. He might think it's funny, like if I'm like, no, no idea at all. Like if that's like playing, and he might be like, oh my god, and he might laugh. I don't know. That would be entertaining and probably character developing, but no. You mean Kuno?
Oh, I'm sure that child would love to get his hands on a filament memory. Even if he doesn't know what to do with it, he'd probably try to pawn it for speed, based on our encounter.
That's probably true. Okay. Do you have any idea where the frozen ice cream maker could be?
I don't know. I assume it's somewhere close to the ice bear fridge.
Alright, let's put the note away. Alright, well that's cool. Do you mind, folks? I kind of want to feel like I've gotten to a stopping place. And this might be a stopping place, but it might not be.
A thick layer of coal dust covers the furnace, coloring it pitch black.
Okay, so like, is this a stopping place, or can I go like a little bit forward and then I'll have a stopping place? Like basically, yes, this is, we're gonna put on this. I'm gonna say, am I close to a stopping place, or should I go ahead and stop here for now? Because it is pretty late. Can go a little bit more. Okay, we'll go a little bit more. We can do that. All right. Let us look inside the furnace.
It's dark and grimy here. In the darkness you can hear chatter. It's coming from above. A voice or several voices talking to each other. Near the smoke chamber, upstairs.
All right.
What are you doing?
The lieutenant asks when he sees you climb halfway inside the furnace. I like that you don't get to decide whether Ocelot climbs inside the furnace or not. Ocelot is already doing it, and Kim is responding to it by the time that you, the player, find out that this is happening. That is a hilarious bit of writing, and he does have his own personality and his own actions. Okay, so I can say I'm hallucinating, or maybe it's the entity, or I hear the murder of the hanged man talking, or I'm not sure, Kim, but I think I can hear someone talking upstairs. I'm gonna go with that.
Wait, really? I should investigate, see if someone's upstairs.
So I could, those voices I heard, maybe it's the malignant entity. Plaisance said it lives in a chimney. I don't know why I would want to smear my hands with coal or kick it with my foot. Those are crazy things to do. Oh. Physical instrument. Okay, well that's pretty low. So I'm gonna save. And then we're gonna try those things and see how they go. Because sometimes those things will make things better, and sometimes those things will make things worse. We're gonna see what happens.
A thick layer of coal dust covers the furnace,
Okay.
coloring it pitch black.
We're going to ask about the malignant entity.
You're right. The rooms do look like they're connected. But malignant entities don't exist. At least not the supernatural kind.
Kim wants to make sure that I know that he's a skeptic.
Always has to be the skeptic, this man.
The thing is, like, it's not like that was like a rare thing to say, but it's just I'm particularly amused that, yeah, no, I think it's safe to say that Rhetoric is the one that I have like the most like we are on the same page. Oh man. All right, let's smear our hands with coal.
A lush layer of coal now covers your skin, sinking into the wrinkles. Your hands look ancient.
Zagreus could be Rhetoric or empathy. Either one of those are kind of his deal. He does words and he does people. That's why we get along. For anyone who doesn't know the context for that, when I played Hades, I would say a thing and then Zagreus would say like the exact same thing, like over and over and over and over again. It was pretty funny. All right, so why am I putting coal on my hands?
You feel the spirit of Ramut Karzai, ancient hero of Grad, pulsing through you. All that's left is to cover your face in war paint.
Let's do it. Hadramut Karzai. Smear your cheeks black with coal. Or I can say, no, let's not express ourselves. Let's just wipe our hands clean on our pants. We're gonna clown shoes this.
3 dangerous stripes appear onto your cheeks, telling stories of your wild soul.
Amazing. Also, it's now 6 p.m.
What are you doing?
I am the reincarnation of an ancient Ilmaron warrior. I'm sorry. We're going a little clown shoes.
Please wipe your face clean, officer.
No, you're a proud warrior. Keep it.
Kim trusts me. So I say, no, this is actually going to be a good idea. I'm going to fail this roll. I'm going to fail this roll. But we can also load. My authority is really low. This probably would be much higher. No, I can't go out of this. I can load my save. Let's see what happens. YOLO! Plus we have saves.
You can feel your cheeks turn red under the lieutenant's gaze. You look like a kid, not a police officer. Even the war paint can't conceal the embarrassment.
Wipe it clean.
Thank you. So, where were we?
Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna wear our war paint. We just saved. We're gonna do this. I'm sorry, folks. I don't usually do this, but I'm gonna do this because I'm silly that way. There we go. There we go. All right. We're gonna try this again.
A thick layer of coal dust. A lush layer of coal. You feel the spirit of Ram. 3 dangerous stripes.
What are you doing? Please wipe your face clean, officer.
No, you're a proud warrior. Keep it.
All right, let's see if that was enough. That's a much higher likelihood now that my authority is not 1. Don't wipe it. And be like, no, I know what I'm doing, Kim. Trust me. Let's give it a try. I'm sorry. This is how I roll.
These 3 stripes give you strength in this dangerous realm. It would be foolish to remove them.
This is not really authority. This is Inland Empire pretending to be authority. This is an impersonation we have. We're exploring this dark place and I need the protection my war paint affords.
And this protects you.
This is traditional war painting. Will grant me safe passage with the spirits that guard this place, or it gives me confidence, and that's all that matters, Kim. I'm gonna go with that.
Okay, sure. Go ahead.
He stubbornly looks away from you in the furnace. So that's the him trusting me part of it. That's amazing. Okay, hold on. We're gonna save. This is amazing. I have leveled up from, like, the dumbest things. I've leveled up from noticing a refrigerator. I've leveled up from, I swear, some other
A thick layer of coal dust covers the furnace,
random
coloring it
inanimate
pitch black.
objects. Okay, let's kick it with my foot. Oh! Oh! Oh, amazing! I died! We're gonna load. Amazing! Oh, amazing. Oh, I leveled up on the garbage bin. I knew it was a good one. We're gonna load the game. Amazing. You stub your toe so hard you die. I have leveled up. I'll put another point in rhetoric like I said I would. I know there's other thoughts and I should probably think a thought. But I kind of want another point in rhetoric anyway. Died from kicking a furnace for no reason. Yeah. I want another point in rhetoric. I feel like I don't need another point in rhetoric, but I want it anyway. It should be in line with empathy. This is a rhetoric empathy run. I had time to heal myself, but I chose not to. There's a timeline where Kim sees you cover your face with soot and then immediately die from kicking the furnace. Yeah. Alright. I'm gonna go with leveling up rhetoric. Yeah. I should probably work on learning a new thought. Wait, did I decide to learn a new thought? I did decide to learn a new thought. Okay, never mind. Then we're good. We're good. All right, let's not...
A thick layer of coal dust covers the furnace,
Let's not-
coloring it pitch black.
Let's not kick a chimney to death. Okay.
You're right. The room.
Always has to be the skeptic, this man.
Right, we just have to canonically have that. All right. See? I bet if I kicked it and didn't die, I would do better against this. Let's try this. War painted your face. Confidence. Does make a bit of a difference. It's still kind of low because my physical instrument is really bad, but we're gonna try this.
You muster all your strength and yell. Your dehydrated, hungover throat can produce little more than a dry croak.
Oh.
A lifetime of smoking and drinking will do that to you. The chatter from the chimney continues on as before. You seem to have made no impression on whatever's up there. Then again, maybe it's worth actually trying something up there.
Wait.
Maybe you should let your voice rest, officer.
Hold on. This won't count though, right? That doesn't count
A
as...
thick layer of coal dust covers the
Locked.
furnace.
Okay, hold on. We're gonna load the game. We're gonna try that again. Sorry. Okay. Inventory. Gonna put on my white tank top and give it a try.
A thick layer of coal dust covers the furnace.
There we
coloring
go.
it pitch
Hold on.
You're right.
We got it.
Always has to be the skeptic, this
Okay.
man.
Let's try it. Let's try it.
Something breaks loose in you. A mighty bellow echoes throughout the chimney's depths. The chatter of tiny voices above suddenly cease. Then,
First time, every time. Thank you. Yes. I remembered that I had that. I need to look at me. I'm gamifying this game a little bit more. Hope that's all right with everybody. To be fair, people were kind of pushing me to do that earlier, so. All right. Well, I kicked a chimney to I kicked myself to death on a chimney. Yes, I'm glad you're having fun. I'm having fun this way.
Hello?
You hear a woman's voice answer.
You've awakened the entity.
Either I summon the ghost of this doomed commercial area. Answer me, spirit. Or, hello, are you there? Speak to me. We're gonna do this.
Hello? Did you say anything? I can't hear you. Please come upstairs. There's a safety curtain on the second floor. I'll open it.
You hear a low rumble upstairs. The sound of a curtain being pulled aside.
Okay.
After you, officer.
Okay. We're gonna go ahead and call it. Just looking around and if there's anything else here that I haven't seen. Upstairs, okay. We're gonna go up here so that I don't forget what I'm doing. Okay, so that was a cellar, that was downstairs, okay. Ah,